What is up? It's your boy King Jives. Everybody, what's up? It is the Culture Problem Podcast. Future Podcast is the people's in the building. Make some noise. So listen, we are here today. We did this. This is part 2. Y'all was asking for it, so it's been like what, a whole month.
Yeah, it's been
a whole month. So everybody got their own topics of what they want to talk about. At least that's what we discussed before the wine got introduced to the group. Okay, so what is up, everybody? Let me see y'all in the comments. Throw some crowns up in the comments, peoples. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Hey, what is up, everybody? I know y'all can't see it, but y'all can. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Listen, so we got a lot of stuff that we're gonna discuss. We're just spilling over from food and wine and the delectables and things. And I was sitting up here with my 80s bomber jacket on, you know what I'm saying? So, listen. So anyways, y'all. What?
Living in the past.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have so much stuff to discuss, but you know,
long enough it'll come back and stop.
It will. It always come back and stop. It doesn't matter if it's hair, if it's French rolls, finger waves.
I'm waiting for the French rolls to come back and stop.
You said you waiting for them to come back?
Yes, that was the look.
Like the
Listen, it was so easy.
French
I think Meg did one day. It was nice.
Yeah.
I love
You like the French rolls?
I fucked it straight in my hair.
You don't like them?
Yeah,
No, that was like early 2090s.
Yeah. That was like, my mom used to put that on me as a kid. Like, she used to, like, if she was tired, she would just roll.
A French roll.
Yeah, just hit it.
That was grown people stuff.
She was tired.
We had it as kids.
Yeah.
The French roll.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't Megan and like Cardi wear one in the WAP video?
Yeah.
The
I think
fall
so.
promo. French roll with the asymmetrical do.
Yeah.
I mean, that was weird, but
A classic.
I don't think that was a wig.
I don't say
No,
that.
Cardi got a
Cardi
lot of
B.
hair.
Cardi B.
Cardi got a lot of hair.
Really long.
But I mean, she has hair though.
She does.
Like down her back.
Yeah, because she did a video with
Cause she be giving all that. Let me that 60.
That hair advice?
Yo.
I was taking advice from Cardi B.
on her though.
Her hair is great though. She does it for like the kid hair too.
let me see. Y'all say something. Y'all say some of these microphones. Let me see.
Something.
Okay, wait, let me tighten this up. You said say something again?
Something.
Bitches.
You said peaches?
Bitches.
Bitches? Oh, okay.
Oh, not the bitches.
You know what?
Peaches and cream.
Theo, that's all Theo right there. That's all
us
Theo.
what's
Say
feeling in
something, say testing
I'm
again.
trying to censor myself.
Mic check 1 2.
Okay, you coming through great. Do that bass one more time.
Mic check 1 2.
He's like, come on, baby, let me talk to you.
Let me talk for a while.
Okay, Barry White.
Sound like you about to start up a radio edit.
Okay, so hey Darius, Sister London, we see you. Hey y'all. Look, I don't know who want to start, but we just gonna start.
Should we reintroduce ourselves?
Oh, they like it, sure.
Hey, can y'all turn the telemundo down in there?
Real support says
Turn the telemundo down, goddammit! Y'all got the microphone. I'm at the remote control.
Not the broken.
So, y'all know who I am. If you don't, I am DeMario. We're gonna right, left, right.
Oh, you always on. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You need to have a church microphone.
Hi, my name is Dominique. I am one of the co-founders of the Blend Space. But, you know, I'm just here kicking it with y'all. I like y'all. These are my friends. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Well, I'm Theo. I'm here. And that's about it.
Oh, okay.
Theo is here. Okay.
I didn't have anything fancy like that.
You didn't have, okay.
Well, I mean, aren't you trying to start a writers network? On top of that, aren't you like a
I'm
private investigator?
still working on it.
Oh, okay.
Theo's
Okay.
got things working in the mix, but, you know, he don't want to talk about it right now.
It's tiring. That's all I know.
Oh, okay.
Next.
Hello, I'm Jasmine. I'm feeling very good.
This sounds really good.
And I'm just happy to be here.
All right.
Okay.
I'm Marvin, holding it down.
For Jamaica. For Jamaica?
I'm gonna give me a Jamaican flag over right here.
No, really holding it down. Well, yeah, I'm out here.
Y'all hear his voice? Real deep, nigga. Like, what
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Cadin Small. I too am a co-founder of the Blunt Space. I'm also one of the creative associate directors for the Blunt Space Incorporated. Check us out on Instagram. You don't have to plug that. But anyway, yes, I'm here because I love everyone that's in this room. So I feel like this is gonna be fun. Real fun.
Now, with that being said, let me go ahead and run this commercial. Although I did not edit it with the other stuff, but let's go ahead and run this commercial. Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando, and all of the surrounding areas, the Blunt Space presents Connect and Collect, Friday, November the 4th, 2022. Performance, showcase, and night gallery, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, a night of Black queer excellence and artistry. Spoken word, dance, and musical performances. Tickets are available on Eventbrite for $10. The address is 7th and Grove, 1930 East 7th Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Look forward to seeing you there. All right, y'all, we are back.
Come through, plug.
Okay, I just heard the applause. I just want to make sure it's right. All right, so we're here. So listen, we're going to go around the room. We got a whole bunch of topics since we are the culture problem. I don't know why I named it that, but I just named it that. We just have issues in our community that we just like to discuss. Maybe there's issues, maybe they aren't issues, but we're going to discuss some stuff, okay? But who want to go first?
We're going to start with Cadin because it's like
Yeah, okay, go ahead. You want
Since, the first thing that popped in my head was actually something that we watched earlier. The whole thing with the Little Mermaid. So the whole Ariel ordeal, how everyone was mad that she was black.
Would they be mad if they knew how the story started?
Child, you'd be gagged to know that it was actually written by a gay man, and it's like a whole metaphor about how he couldn't have his lover, so,
It's a horror story.
It is. Even when she got her legs, it felt like she was walking on needles. Like, it's not a pleasant story. And she even descends into, like, sea foam at the end. And,
I don't know.
And people are saying, oh, it's because, in the Danish tale, this. Well, you do know that even Disney's version is a retelling of the original story. That's how Disney literally monopolized on a lot of these stories. They specialize in retelling it.
White people didn't even create the concept of mermaids. There's like a whole thing in like Egyptian mythology and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was funny, at least. You remember when HBO used to have those fairy tales, they did Rumpelstiltskin and all that shit?
Mm-hmm.
They had a version of the Little Mermaid that was Chinese. Nobody said shit about that.
Really?
Yeah, they had a Little Mermaid that was Chinese.
Mulan was out here mermaiding.
Do you know they had a white Lion King?
They had a white Lion King.
Right.
They had a black Rumpelstiltskin.
Yep.
They had a black King Midas. And then, obviously the Chinese Little Mermaid, they didn't say shit about that.
I think because
They
everything.
didn't say shit about the black King Midas either when he's out here abusing his family and shit.
Oh, well, there's that.
Okay.
that one let it fall.
I think because things are so sensitive right now, just for the fact that there is a black Little Mermaid, she's actually cute, she can actually sing better than a little white girl with red hair. I think that's a problem.
I don't know, I'm trying to censor myself, but I'm just
Censor yourself.
I'm just gonna put it how I think it is. Honestly, if you have a problem with them changing the race of a fictional character that the race doesn't affect the story,
It's crayon.
then I'm sorry, you a pussy. I don't know.
It's crayon.
You're right. It's essentially crayon. If it's just, you change the race like a damn color book and you got a problem with that, I'm sorry, you a pussy. I don't know what to tell you. You're
Release your
spineless piece of shit, you ass.
Jesus Christ, let them all have it.
Release.
Honestly, I'm tired of hearing, scientifically they wouldn't be black. They're at the bottom of the ocean. Eat a dick, bro.
Yeah, they'd be.
Fuck you.
They'd
How
be
about
translucent.
Wait a minute. Where's my noise?
They want to talk about scientific shit about like a mythological creature. I guess that centaurs wouldn't be black neither. I guess that's the thing because
But ain't the centaurs the things the horses?
because they're in Greece. They'd be a Greek man. It's like although horses are mostly brown. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the
Horses are
pigment of their
multicultural.
skin match
Barely.
the color of the fur?
Barely.
Yeah, that's the color of the
But I'm
fur.
saying,
Yeah.
what we have seen is just a white man with a
A white guy on a black horse body.
or something like that. Yeah.
Like, how the fuck you gonna have a white guy on a black horse body and his hair ain't even black? His hair is brown. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean,
interesting. Yeah.
He's a what's that? He's a Alpino.
Alopecia.
No, he didn't alopecia. No. What's the horse called that has the spots on them?
A filly?
No, it's called something with a P. It's like a pinto or something like that. It's something
Like a bean?
It's called something like that. It's like they have the painted one, and then there's something else.
I know what it's called. Pinto bean. It's something like that.
It's something like that.
I think I know the word, but I can't.
But it's just like I don't know. The argument I just find ridiculous.
Said Palantino.
Valentino.
She
Ain't
said,
no Palantino.
ABC, I feel like this is like an even deeper stretch because that's just that. But there's been a lot of backlash lately with just these fictional characters becoming black. Like even in like Lord or the Rings of Power, they got mad at literally white. Well, they got mad at the brown hobbits.
Half of them started
I didn't
out
get to that part
as
yet.
black.
Yeah.
So half of them started out as black things anyway.
Well, we don't want to talk about that because the dirt is colored. You know what I'm saying?
But even in the books, Tolkien describes a specific hobbit as having browner skin, and so I'm like,
But no,
why
I
am
just,
mad at
I,
this?
just, I just think it's funny. The only thing with Lord of the Rings they're okay with being black is fucking orcs. And even then, it's not even the orcs they did in the new one. It's the ugly ass ones that they did in the first one. Then you notice how those new orcs were white.
Yeah,
You notice that one.
yeah.
They got those ugly ass ones in the fucking games too. Those are okay to be black. But no, not the main movie regular orc. We gotta have the weird mutant orc that's black.
Yeah.
I just think that, I mean, since the story is brought across, you know, she finds the man, she finds, you know, getting love. Who cares what color the skin is?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, you and I and everybody's room, we get that, but it's like the world feels like everything needs to be. You need to stay here. You need to stay there, and it's like.
I got a question. Is the world too woke right now?
No,
I don't think so.
Or
is it too sensitive?
I think white people are annoying. That's mostly what
Yeah,
it is.
I would have to echo that. It's,
Honestly, it always just seems like
The thoughts and the opinions of this show is of each and every line. I just want to be clear.
At least let me clarify. I don't find all white people annoying. I find these Republican-leaning white people annoying because they always want to feel like
I'm
a
gonna
fucking
say again the
victim.
thoughts and the opinions of people on this show.
They're gonna replace us. Oh, Donald, y'all had this about Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. You know, eat a dick. He was wrong.
I second that.
You know, like I'm tired of having this fucking debate where everybody that seems to like his ass. You know, what the fuck did he do for anybody?
and going even deeper into the whole thought of like oversensitivity, especially when it comes to people of color. People have to realize, like, forever we have been taught to endure. Like, pretty much all of this stuff has gone down, and we've just been taught to take it.
Yeah,
now that we are finally in a space where we're like, no, we don't want that. All of a sudden, people feel uncomfortable with that.
Exactly.
When truth be told, if the shoe was on the other foot, there've been plenty of situations where white people have found themselves uncomfortable and did something about it, like passed all these really interesting laws, DeSantis.
And
like
the same
the stop woke bill,
I'm gonna
and you
keep it at
know,
least in
the
characters.
demonic.
I don't want to get into everything, but it's like even with characters, they want to be like, oh, you're changing this, you're changing that, but you got movies where you depicted real people like fucking Sitting Bull and shit using white people in
I saw that
different
it was
makeup
on
and shit.
something.
And it's you just want to sit it. You just want to sit there. It's like, okay, so that's okay with y'all. That you got motherfuckers playing mammy and shit like that, and doing red face and yellow face and shit
remember
like
the syrup
that.
lady?
But we do, yeah.
Aunt
So
Jemima.
we
Yeah,
change a
She was
fucking
actually played
fictional
by a white
character,
woman,
and
a
that's
white
a problem.
dude actually. Aunt Jemima was originally created by a white man.
Yep.
so he was doing it before Tyler Perry.
He was doing it for a vaudeville. It was like vaudeville, and they took a vaudeville kind of character and put on a syrup thing, and it was just like a black tar painted woman that was actually a white man with had white lips, and they marketed that as eatable food.
Jesus Christ.
How fucked up this country is.
Yeah. I think that's why when we talk about like it's people are too woke, I always feel like the entire framing is just completely off.
The word woke.
Yes, like one, the word itself I think is just practically become useless.
Define woke. Real quick. Define woke.
So I'm gonna define what I think people mean by it. When I think people use it, they mean aware of a variety of social issues, especially related to social justice. I think both people who use it positively and also negatively kind of generally understand it as that, even though they feel differently about whether that's a good or bad thing. But lately it's just become just something that you throw around to be derogatory, or people who think they are woke use it to claim that they have all this knowledge about all these issues. That's really superficial. And so I feel like on both sides there's just a lot of, it's just virtue signaling, and it's not always productive. But I don't think society can be too woke, which I really think they mean just aware of various issues and how they actually affect people. And I think it ties back to what you were saying, in that a lot of things have just been suppressed for so long, and so it's acceptable to ignore those things, and over time a lot of little things are becoming less acceptable, and every year maybe we find something new, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of at. Just
I agree.
Change it. Okay, I can see that.
We've hit a place where a lot of different communities are being spotlighted and highlighted, and there's a lot of disrespectful things that occur. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with us acknowledging that there's disrespect in that and completely changing the behavior to just respect these people in the communities that they're in. Because whether you are black or Blasian,
A lot of things.
he's a lot of things, or even Haitian,
Light skin,
Yellow.
high yellow, red.
child, we all need
I'm brown skin. What am I, brown skin?
No, DeMario.
What am I?
Nigga.
Chestnut.
Nigga.
You're on the brown.
We all niggas, okay?
Also true.
Okay, so let's deal with that right there. 'Cause-
Oh boy.
okay.
See, I'm not good with the. Go ahead. I'm not good with categorizing because I'm just.
Listen here, me personally,
Alright.
how I grew up, it is.
I think over here you might go a little bit more in depth. I don't know if they do this in Haiti, but in Jamaica we just call them browning. Like we just call them a browning. But girls refer to them as browning, or like, hey, browning, walk on, or brown skin, or brown empress. But we don't call anybody of our
Light skin,
colors.
brown,
We don't call them light skin.
red bone.
No, just call him browning.
Browning.
So browning is like his color.
What am I?
You're black, man.
I'm black. So what is he?
It's browning. Or they would call him coolie.
He's coolie.
Yeah, coolie or browning.
See, you said that's what. Okay, so over here,
Yeah, so the men will be called coolie. He will be called browning, but depending on the hair, he'll be called coolie. The hair is what dignifies
He got
what
coolie
you call
hair.
coolie.
He got
Yeah.
coolie hair.
He got
So
coolie
that's
hair.
what it's just.
So he got nappy hair, so it's browning.
browning. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got a little curl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called coolie,
It was
man.
long.
Yeah.
Did you ever see one of those?
Yeah, I saw your license pic. I
Look
was
like
like, why'd you
Jesus.
cut it?
It's luscious. It's like luscious.
It's
I'm
just
gonna put it on.
He look like Jesus.
looking like some Roman, like
Look,
the
black
Roman
Jesus.
curls.
Black. Oh, black Jesus. Okay. All right. Okay.
Rocking the fro.
Okay.
Oh.
You know, when I put a good wig on, I look like that too. I'm telling you.
But I mean, well, since we're on the subject of that, because I come from an Afro-Latino background, and I actually got into a conversation with Shoya the other day about how things are broken down a little differently where I'm from too.
Yeah.
Because when the Spanish colonized pretty much these islands, I'm a white woman. When the Spanish
Good for you.
When the Spanish colonized a lot of like the Latino countries, they broke it down weird. Like they encouraged like intermixing because it whitened the race. They had a lot of fixing the race. So
Colonization?
yeah, so they pretty much said, we're gonna make sure that we whiten these races, literally fuck them out of existence. So
They did that shit in Australia too.
so they broke it down.
You know, they sent missionaries to do all that.
Yeah, they there's like a whole
I'm
chart.
not a Christian.
Missionaries.
Yeah, there's a whole chart that like breaks down each race and what it is. Like there's like a Native American black mix, there's a black white mix, there's a Native American white mix, and they named each one.
You know, it's funny because I never really looked at it. Well, they didn't teach it in school like that. But I know that they did say they had sex with a slave to kind of break their will, to kind of, you know, make them submit and all that stuff.
That's why they call them motherfuckers.
And they got like them tools and shit. It's like,
You never heard that before?
It's completely different.
I mean,
they called it butt breaking.
Yeah,
Either they was
They
fucking
would
the men
take
that
it-
was bug breaking, or they was fucking the
They would take
women.
the strongest one, you know, the ones that people would like be rallying behind. They, you know, strap them against a log and fuck them in front of the rest of them. And
That's-
some of them, they had like this little eggplant tool thing that it used to be a torture device in the Middle Ages, and it would expand over
it's
like
called
that.
a speculum.
But
Yeah,
that's
they would
interesting.
use that as a torture
The
device in the Middle Ages,
That's
and
where
they
it
brought
comes
it
from.
over here.
The same medical device exists during
But it's
Papshians.
interesting how they try to flush it out with the genes of just changing the color over time.
But yeah, that's well, what you're referring to was something that happened on seasoning plantations.
Okay.
What I'm referring to is all the intermixing from the Spaniards and all the Native Americans and the Africans that they brought over to Latino countries.
At least here, they even had a thing where they would try to like sell Native Americans on the idea of slavery, and then they would have the slaves, but they would just treat them regular. So there's writings and all this shit where it's like white people saying, well, if the Native Americans don't know how to treat a slave, then something needs to be done about the Native Americans. There's a lot of black slaves would run to Native Americans, you know, Native American tribes and whatnot, and they take them in. And the Seminoles tribe was one of the only ones that just like kept fighting and wouldn't let them take back any of the slaves or anything like that. Like there was a whole thing where they went down to Mexico, and then the Seminole tribe was in Mexico for a little bit after our Chief Osceola died, all that shit.
I think we talked about this before somewhere.
Yeah,
we
this-
talked about that when we was eating at one
I
time.
think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like at least I learned about it from this book called Black Indians.
Yeah.
It's just like a rabbit hole of shit.
We intermix with Native American tribes a lot. In fact,
Like a lot. And
Yes.
when a lot of people, you know, you hear black people say all the time, "Oh, I got Native in me." It's just like,
it's true.
it's just a lot of black people do, depending on the state you live in. If
Especially
you live in
from
Florida,
Louisiana.
probably Louisiana, probably North Carolina, probably. It's like, I mean, hell, even
You know,
Texas,
Carolina got the
probably.
Geechees over there. You know,
Yeah,
the Geechees.
I'll get into that. I'll get into that. I got first-hand experience for that one.
That's a whole nother situation right there.
Yeah, but either way, the intermixing, it happened.
They used to have this thing on YouTube
Yeah.
called the Whiteout, and so they used to tell you all the stories about how all of that intermixing and how the religion and things, how they did all that stuff and doctrinated everything and changed a lot of stuff and took a lot of stuff and mixed it with the Bible and then indoctrinated people.
Even that whole curse of Ham shit is just a lie. It's not in the Bible at all.
It's not.
You know, when people want to say, "Oh, black people are cursed and Latino people are cursed," and shit like that, it's not true.
It's truly not.
It's just complete bullshit.
Curse or what?
It's called the curse of Ham. I think Ham was Noah's grandson, and they want to say because they wanted to say that people. There's a lot of people have told me this. I'm not gonna put any names to it, but they want to say in the Bible that there's a verse talking about, you know, when Noah got drunk and it was like two of his kids laughed at him and one of his sons like covered him. They want to say that there's a whole verse in the Bible talking about, oh, the children of those two sons that laughed at him will always be subservient to the children of the other one, and they want to say, oh, you know, that those two were black and this one was white, even though they have the same fucking father. That's not how that works.
Wait.
But you know, then Ham wasn't even any one of the sons. Ham was like his grandson or some shit like that.
See the Bible.
And on top of that, they want to say the mark of Cain was black skin too. So it's, you know, fucking, you know, which one is it is the question.
See what people do. See, I'm tell you because I'm church.
Please tell me, because I'm confused.
So the
Like,
church love to tell you to go and get married, right? But in the
Yeah.
Bible, everybody was pretty much hoeing.
Yeah.
You know, the man could be a hoe and quite and fuck all these women, but in the Bible, he was
multiple
taking
wives.
care of all these people too. Now, am I right or wrong now?
I mean,
Moses had a whole bunch of concubines, but he took care of them. David had about 7,955 wives,
Yes.
but he took care of all of them. But it's like we encourage. I think there's another subject here, but we encourage. Is it monogamy? We encourage monogamy amongst men as long as it's straight, But the moment that you do something outside of that, it's just like it's a sin. Cause I know they used to tell me, you got your pickle with, boy, you got your.
I see.
I'm like,
Even so-
what is that? Like,
Even so,
I
that
eat
whole thing
pickles.
about
No part of
being
it,
gay and
bro.
like Leviticus, oh, thou shalt not lie with another man. That shit was changed.
Yeah, that's not.
Originally, it was something about thou shalt not lay with children.
Yeah, that's what it
somebody
originally
went
said.
out of their way to make it okay for pedophilia, but not okay to be gay. It's bullshit.
How did we get here? We were just talking about light skinned and dark skinned people, then we ended up here.
Well, I guess we got to talk about. Okay. So
Back
we was.
on that. I want to talk about the Geechee thing in a minute anyway.
Yeah. But because because I was talking about how it was broken down as far as where
The races.
where my people from,
Okay.
the Latino people.
You mixed. You got.
Not nigga, I'm black.
Right. I'm just saying,
But that's how it's broken down there. So that's why when you speak to like a lot of Dominican people, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm not black," because a lot of them truly do not know.
Yeah.
They were encouraged to mix so much that it literally has become a thing of their own, and it's like that across a lot of the like Latino countries. And even down on their census, they recently had to put like Afro-Latino because it's like it just means you're Latino, but you have African ancestry. Because in order for them to consider you black, you literally have to look like you're from Africa. Like
So you got to have cuckabugs, a big nose.
Well, yeah,
or
you have
some
to-
features.
yeah, you have to have African. You have to have African features. You have to be very dark skinned. If you're not, there's like, oh no, you're not black. You're just a little moreno. Yeah, or like a little moreno. Or
Milano or something.
Well,
I think it's
mulatto
an interesting
is a mix.
experience, at least.
I just don't understand that. But then
You encourage to marry someone that's like lighter, to
Yeah.
have like lighter kids. And if you actually didn't, there's a term for that when you marry someone darker. It's called salta atrás. It's a step
you're going back a
backwards.
step backwards.
Yeah, so
that's in Haiti too.
Oh no, I don't know about Haiti, but
I feel like Haiti has its own husk.
Haiti has its own
It
little
has its own
thing.
dynamics.
yeah.
Yeah, like
So shit there.
Black people got their own shit too.
And
Like
I think that's the thing is that each
he gotta be. If he ain't light skinned, he gotta be cute with some European features. Cause with me, like I don't have per se the wide nose and what is that thing? Cause this African dude told me a lot of Africans have this slope flat head. I don't know what that's called.
That's
I've never
just
heard
what
of
it's
that.
called. I don't know if it has a name to it.
I don't know.
Yeah, they consider that you're African because with wide nose, the way your head is shaped. If you don't have that, you have a pronounced, very European nose, and then your face is shaped a certain way. You're not really black if you look like that.
see,
Child,
that's weird. Okay, because
Because you have a European nose.
my mom, I hate the way she says it, but my mom said she fixed my nose. Yes,
that's-
like
What?
yes, it's
Like
weird. It's very
when you're
weird.
a baby, they say
When,
that
when I was a baby, she would like really pinch my
I knew
nose
something
from like the
like
thing,
that.
like from like the brim of my nose to make sure that it looks smaller to like appear more European. And she did that on purpose.
What?
And she's like, and like growing up, she would be like going around to other people when they first have children. And she's like pinch the nose so it could look a little more European, a little like just make sure it doesn't look too broad. So it's like.
How you
She's
pinch
so
your
proud of
baby
it.
nose?
But
I
like,
admit, you can mold the baby shape.
Yeah, you mold the baby shape. Like
Just
sometimes,
yeah, it's like the skull where
in-
you sing sin and stuff.
yeah,
like
that's
that.
like the one thing in the Haitian culture. You're supposed to like bind your baby so the baby doesn't have a pot belly. You have to like pinch his nose sometimes. Like there's a lot of things that we do to make sure that your baby looks a certain way when they grow up.
I'm just
Like
gonna
you
say it
can
right
mold
now.
your baby into like
No offense to your mother and all, but that's some dumbass shit there.
I know. That's what she was saying.
Goddamn
That's how she grew up, and I'm never gonna tell me.
I mean, it might work, but it's still dumb as fuck.
Well, I mean,
Dumb as shit.
Look, it's like, oh my god!
well, no, I'm not gonna say
As I
it's
said,
dumb.
no offense to your mother, but she ain't that sharp.
No, it's not that. I feel like it's the way she was raised.
Yes.
It was more
Yeah.
like it's
Kind
just
of blame that to
how.
me.
This is my thing. This is my thing. I ain't saying the woman's stupid or nothing like that. I'm saying the idea that got put in her head was dumb as fuck.
I mean, it was passed down from
Yeah,
generation
that's what I'm
to
saying.
generation.
I mean, even so.
Yeah,
Even so,
it was like the slavery days
down.
actually, because over here in the U.S. they were doing the same thing. Like I heard that myth.
Because it's just another piece of anti-blackness.
But I'm just saying, it was.
But on
When were you
in
born?
the area of
I was born
the
in
sphere of desirability. And so, but anti-blackness is just, it's entrenched in our society in so many ways, whether it's how we choose partners, what we think about when we're like in professional spaces, how we look, there's just so many pieces of it. And so it's really a deep and difficult work trying to pick apart all of those pieces, and then it almost circles back to people saying, oh, well, you're too woke if you're worried about this and that and the other, because that's just how it's always been. And Black people have just accepted a lot of things that are really just anti-Black ideas brought over by Europeans when it comes to how we look and how we dress. Whether it's about hair, facial features.
Even how we love. That's been influenced heavily by like a lot of European stuff.
By the way, just a little plug, The Woman King was a beautiful movie.
It
was so
was.
refreshing
Yes,
to
yes.
see the beauty of a
Don't,
black
don't
woman.
spoil it. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm not
I haven't
gonna
seen
spoil
it
it.
yet.
The Woman
King. It was.
Oh, that was
Listen,
nice. We saw that.
I'm a gangster. I don't cry.
Well, who?
Alright, I don't cry, alright? But I'm just saying, that movie almost brought me to tears.
I was
So it's one
crying.
It was just...
Because I was going to wait for it to come on stream. That's what I've been doing lately.
You don't even want to put
Look, the movie theater's been ass lately. I'm going there and
Ain't nobody there.
I don't care. Keep that shit clean. I don't want to go in there at 12 in the goddamn afternoon and still popcorn on that fucking floor.
Just go like
Well,
midnight.
aside from that movie actually, I have very mixed feelings about that film.
That's what I
Well, he did some research. He did some
Inspired by some
research.
real stuff,
Yeah,
right?
but
Yes.
I'm gonna go into a little bit why I'm a little torn by
Hold
this
on.
movie.
Before you go into it, let me divert from that. Just saying that was a good refresher.
Yeah, it
That you
was.
saw black excellence and power, and everybody had on like cocoa butter and coconut oil. It was shining, and everything looked nice. But what I'm saying is, in Jamaica, there's a rampant.
It was.
Yeah, there's a rampant
I was
thing.
mad that one girl.
I don't know if you guys know who Vibes Cartel is.
Yeah, Vibes Cartel, yeah.
Alright, so hear me out. This guy is an icon in the Caribbean. This man has pull. He's in prison right now. Still has pull.
Yes.
Free my nigga Vibes.
World boss. And the thing is, he introduced the whole bleaching and the cake soap thing.
Somebody just put that in there. Somebody
Yes.
said I have a lot of Caribbean friends who bleach their
Alright, check me
skin.
out.
Yeah.
So
I used to do
he
that.
introduced this when I was in high school. He introduced this all. I remember his songs was cool. Let me wash my face with the cake soap. He has his own line of products and everything. And usually you hear the bleaching thing in the Asian community, heavily pushed in to
Yes.
white skin. But him, I would say. He really pushed the boulder. You know that you have an avalanche. He really put that out there, and that thing kept rolling to this day. All right, so he used to talk about the bleaching, have his tattoo showed up even better, and then right behind him, you got the people without a thought, just following and bleaching. Face be one color, the body be a different color.
Listen, the hands be black as tar.
Yeah, and-
face be.
And it's
Looking like a panda bear.
And I go home and it's. I remember I went home and I see friends, I haven't seen in like 5 years, and I'll be like, hey yo, what? Bright as day, and he used to be as dark as night. And I had to look at him for a quick second, and you have to hold my tongue, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, ah shit, you're in that too, you know what I'm saying? That's your
Well, see,
mindset.
there's this thing that, now, the reason how I know about it, because I used to do it too, because I thought
The bleaching.
you just had to be, you had to have certain, I love me, but at
I'm
that
talking
particular time.
her skin tone
No.
to his skin tone. That's the kind
No.
of change.
Okay, so I've never been, and this is no disrespect, nobody,
Yeah.
I've never been like dark skin. I've always been this color. But I always felt as a younger kid, because I saw people in school that were light skinned that got favored more, and so they used to have this soap that you can buy on certain sites and in certain hair stores, and it would lighten your skin. And so I was really into that for a minute, and then at one point I was just like, I looked at me, I was like, bitch, fuck that, bitch, you fine as fuck. I mean, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I'm
That's what they
saying?
call self-loving.
So it's like people do that because, like you said, it's ingrained in them.
Yeah.
And like there's a TV show, Young African and Famous.
Oh yeah.
And it's two women on that bleach the hell out of their skin, and they look like Cadin.
Listen.
And then their coochie is like this right here. Like they've been bleaching just that much.
I don't even know what's going on in the other Caribbean countries, but I just know a hashtag in my country right now, fuck education. That's literally one of the hashtags right now. Like it's such a, and it has, shit, that shit sounds good. Like,
Fuck education.
yeah, it's one of the hashtags. I'd be like, I was club hopping. And DJs be scratching that in. Like, and a couple of the artists even putting it in. It's just, they're not even thinking, they're just doing, following like sheep. And I'm not even joking, it's literal sheeps out there. It's just sheeps, man. And you be literally having people, I'm saying that the face is white and everything else is black. And then it's just, you have people commenting like, hey, if you're gonna bleach, finish it. You know what I'm saying?
Looking like you left the period off your sentence,
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of sad, and you have people, a lot of people talking about it. Even the Prime Minister be like, they literally took a part of the Prime Minister's speech where he says fully dance. You know what dance is, right? And they use it as a part in the club too, like fully dance as an ad lib. Basically saying fuck education. So it's just literal sheeps. Lots of people just sheeping right now, and you got people on the side like, damn, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like, I get it that
they
it's
actually look
like,
like sheep. That's funny.
You have to understand, it's not a big country, so it's not that many people on there. So it's,
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I get it as like a whole lot of anti-blackness mentality sort of thing, but like, let's be real, it's the 21st century. You could just look this shit up, and you know, I'm just saying, if you're still following that type of shit, you know, if you're still in that mentality, I don't really have an excuse for it at this point.
You want to be favored? Who doesn't want to?
So you want to be favored by white people? What the fuck they done for you, honestly?
The women are just as sheep as possible. You have to understand. A man wants to mate, and a woman who also follows uneducation, without education, also wants to mate. And if she's following the trends, and a man wants to be favored,
motherfuckers are proud to be some stupid motherfuckers.
that's what I'm telling you. That's literally the hashtag. No education. So you have the women boosting the men to do this, and like, oh, I can see your tattoos, you're bleaching, I see your light skin, and they give him more favor than the other, and they're literally using it as a method of getting more women. And it's just a cycle that doesn't end until literally it just pushes out of the media.
It's just so fucking idiotic. I feel like I lost a brain cell hearing it.
And then some people don't even leave the island, they live there, so that's what they have to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I feel like we could say it's dumb. We could. But
stupid is as stupid does.
No, I think it's just different. I think it's not like it's different. It's not what we believe. It's not how we grew up. Like if you grow up and your whole life, people are telling you that you're ugly, that you need a light in your skin. Aren't you going to believe it?
Yeah.
Aren't you like you're going to believe it no matter what? Like like. I hate to say it, like my mom was a little like that, a little bit. She was more like, she never said I was ugly or anything like that, but it was like, you know, I'm a little too dark, stay a little out the sun. Just things like that. Stay out the sun, you don't want to get too dark.
You didn't get us?
I did.
Like, you know, the sun will, and you know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna say my mom was uneducated. I'm never gonna say anything like that. I'm just
that
saying
was how they were raised. That was the environment.
And now that we are exposed to more knowledge, and now that we have more information, we have the opportunity to have more information because a lot of our parents and our grandparents weren't allowed to read. Let's put that there. Like it's available to us now. We have more information to make our own minds, and I don't think it's fair to judge our parents or our ancestors to like what they believe. It's not fair.
I agree.
Deeply layered and not like you're expressing. And I think when we think about things like intelligence, I think you have like the general intelligence you think about when it comes into like school and work and things like that. But understanding on a social cultural level is a very different sphere, and it also requires you delving into a lot of deeply seated emotions, because like you can understand something theoretically. Like I can understand colorism, like I understood colorism for a really long time as a social issue within the Black community, stemming from anti-Blackness, but it will not necessarily immediately make me feel good about my skin color. So it's like, it's the same thing with like there's like so many other aspects of it, whether it's like your sexuality. I've dealt with it personally, whether it's like skin color, weight, all those kinds of things. I can understand that this is wrong and it's silly for me to think this, but does it change how terribly you feel? And you don't even have to have like someone like a parent tell it to you explicitly. All you have to do is watch TV and see light-skinned women everywhere to understand that you inherently are probably not as desirable, or you see the way someone treats you, or you see the way men talk to you in a dehumanizing way. And like the more you experience all that in different aspects of your life, the more it's in your mind and the more you have to unpack. And for a lot of people, they do not have the tools for that. So I feel like a lot of our older generation, I love talking about it with them, but they still don't have the tools. And so me as a single person cannot give them all the tools, experience will work on it.
Yeah.
But it's just a completely different area of knowledge and understanding.
That's
It's
right.
needed, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that Woman King is just a palette cleanse. It was so good. It's just dark everywhere.
It was put together. Now, outside of what he did his research on, I liked the movie based upon what I saw.
Yes.
It was very empowering. It was very, knowing what we saw. It was really good. Then after, Mr. Research over here, I was just like,
Too deep.
okay.
I mean,
Just kill my whole little vibe.
Very history,
I'm gonna jump.
delve into it.
Yeah,
What's up?
I'm gonna dive into that, but I kind of want to.
a little bit when you finish.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna dive into that in a second, but I kind of want to touch a little bit on what Jasmine said, and kind of go back to the question about you say, do we live in a woke era that's too world? And now listening to what Jasmine said, I'm like, no, we just live in an era where the information is a lot more readily available. And the generation that came before us is so disconnected because they didn't have access to any of that. We grew up in a world where all this information is readily available to us. So we can easily go to Google and be like, oh, snap, this is fucked up. I probably shouldn't do this. And then we completely change our perspectives. A lot of people from old generations, they're not programmed that way. It's just literally, this is what I've been taught.
This is what we're gonna keep doing.
This is what we.
That's what I want
And that's
to
why there's
jump
such a
on.
huge disconnect between us because of that.
That's what I want to jump in. I apologize if I go on too much of a tangent here. It relates to the thing I want to talk about a little bit later on, I guess. But at least this was it for me. I mean, I never had that experience because it's just not how I ever felt about myself. I mean, and clearly, I grew up with the whole thing of nobody looked like me around me except for my family, and even then it wasn't even all of them. It's mostly just my sister. And so I never really had that whole, you can look on TV and see somebody like you or anything like that. But it went further than that. It wasn't like, I just don't see somebody who looks the same shade as me. It's like I didn't see anybody who had my features whatsoever. So I don't know, like maybe I just have a different mentality about it.
Now, where you grew up at?
In St. Pete.
Okay, you need to go up to Minnesota. You're gonna see a whole bunch of
If we go up to North Carolina, I'll probably see more people. But
Cause you go to Minnesota, you're gonna see them Somalians. You be like, what is you? Oh, Somali? Are you black? Listen, everybody, you got dark folks that got straight hair. You got dark folks that got sponge hair. I mean, just, you find folks who like
as I was saying, it's like, it never really affected me that much after a while because I just didn't give a shit about it, honestly. But at the same time, it was you getting on the topic of like the colorism and shit like that. I don't think it's a matter of how people were raised. I think a way you were raised informs that, but I feel like it goes into the same shit as a lot of other things of how you raised. But the thing I noticed about a lot of the older generation, you got two types of people. Either the type of people that is like, okay, I didn't like that was done to me as a child. I don't like how I felt about this and before. I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm going to do something different. Then you have the other group of people who are like, oh, well, it happened to me, so it's got to happen to y'all. And I mean, the topic that I really wanted to get on was, I'm posing a question, but it's more like, this sort of thing with like, when did physical violence with children these days when is that still okay? I mean, it's like been a thing everybody's always known, but I'm saying like, okay, so this is what I'm not understanding lately. Is so you got and I'm gonna liken kids and dogs. I'm not gonna say that they're like dogs, but I'm saying
opinions of it.
And, puppies and children, they sort of learn the same way.
Bro.
If you can recognize, because everybody wants to watch fucking Cesar Millan and all, no, now because Cesar Millan say they understand it, but if you understand that beating on a dog doesn't teach them, that's a way to get them to fucking bite you. And that's a way to get them to see you as a source of pain and run away from you. Why the fuck can't you understand that with children? How beating on a kid does not teach them. It teaches them how to act in front of you. But they're still going to be doing the same fucking thing when they're away from you. And also, they're going to hate you.
That makes sense.
If you sit there, I'm back and forth between the dogs and kids thing, but it's just to relate a point. If you sit there beating on a dog for 5 years of his life, and now all of a sudden you want to change up, you expect that dog to love you? That dog will not fucking love you. I'll tell you that right now.
See, this is how I feel about it.
There's a difference because you are the source of that. If it's like, okay, this dog was abused for 5 years and then they get a different owner, that's a different story. But you're the same fucking one that was doing the shit, and now all of a sudden the dog is supposed to expect something different from you.
Well, this is how I feel about when it comes down to dogs, and even with kids.
Relating the point.
There's a difference between abuse and trying to bring about correction when it comes to
I understand that. I'm not talking about
I see what you're saying.
Kids and dogs, like, oh yeah, they did something wrong, pop them on the butt.
You just beat them just
about.
because. Now, I get.
That's what I'm saying. I see a lot of people, they go around beating their kids because they want to make it out like they did something wrong, but really it's just a way for them to feel powerful in their own fucking life. And it's
that's like slavery type of mentality, you know.
And they
like I'm the nigga you subservient.
They want to act like the kid doesn't have feelings and shit, and then when they're older and they bring it up, I never did that. Like the kid's fucking stupid.
I mean, in the household of a Caribbean household, a child has no say.
You have no say.
You can't say nothing.
I'm not saying they have to have a say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have to have a say.
Even as an adult, you got even as an adult in the island cultures, you can't talk to older like relatives a certain way. Like
it's a lack of accountability.
Not older relatives. You can't talk to older people that way. You can't do that unless you're ready to fight for your life. You can't do that because
you gotta be careful.
In my mom's day, anybody had the right to beat you.
That's what it was when I was younger. Like if you did something at school, like you gonna get beat by the bus driver. Not beat, but you gonna get a spanking by the bus driver.
The teacher, the principal.
Yes.
This is what I'm not getting.
When your mama and daddy get home, you'll get beat too.
It'll be, if you got a problem child, everybody in the family, especially older ones, gonna be okay. You're the problem, right? Okay, so if you're somebody's uncle, somebody's aunt, or you're a parent, whatever. And everybody else around you is telling you, especially the children, hey, you're doing this. This is how this affects me. You're a problem. If you got multiple people telling you that shit, maybe the problem is you. Cause this is what I mean. I watched this show called BoJack Horseman, and I there's this character Todd on there, and he had the best quote out of the whole damn show, at least to me. He said, just stop. You are all the things that are wrong with you. It's not the drugs, it's not anything that happened to you as a kid or in your childhood. It's you. And I get it that people always want to have this whole thing of like, this happened to me in my childhood, that's why I'm this, that, and the fourth. But at a certain point, it's you not dealing with it that's the issue. It's not that it happened. It's that you didn't find a way to deal with that and grow from that. That's the problem. Because when you're a fucking adult, how are you going to keep blaming something that happened to you 20 fucking years ago?
There are people that do that.
I know there are people that do that.
And they make excuses for their behavior.
Exactly.
It's not that.
Childhood trauma.
It's not that. A lot of people don't have the tools that you have to be able to sit down and reflect on how the issue. And
that's the skill cultivated. It is.
And a lot of I'm going to talk on the Caribbean. A lot of Caribbean people don't believe in therapy. They don't believe.
I was taught that it was the devil.
It doesn't have to be therapy. You can just be looking at yourself like, I don't like the way I am here. This makes me miserable that I'm this way.
You can't just have self-awareness like this. Like you can feel bad, but it takes a whole different.
It takes tools and knowledge. Like a lot of the things that we're talking about, that I feel like it's a luxury for us to be able to be talking about this anyway. Because it's not exposed. Like. What? My mom?
We would not have conversations.
My grandma would have a problem, and they would just go into their room and pray. And they
Oh,
pray.
hold on. Can you grab that book
And
right there? I'm so glad you said that.
Okay.
Grab them 2 books. Yeah, grab them 2 books right there. Grab them 2 books right there.
On it, but I'm just
But
at the point in life, me
I feel-
personally.
No, not the top. Just the 2 books on top. 2 books on top.
Oh, there's 2 here.
I feel like it's because
I'm finna show y'all something.
you had a lot more opportunity to explore yourself. Where in a lot of like in my household, we weren't allowed to do that. We were taught to think the way your parents do. And if you're thinking outside the way your parents do, then you are wrong.
You're a problem.
You are the problem, and you need to
Either
correct
do what we doing, or you
or
need to go
get the
somewhere.
fuck out.
Yeah.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It wasn't a democracy in the household. We do what we do. This is how we've been doing it for generations. This is how we're going to
I
continue.
just look at that as willful ignorance, honestly.
So. Wait, hold on.
You have to submit.
I'm glad y'all said that. I want to show y'all something.
You have to submit.
See, I grew up in a strict Christian dogmatic household. Anything out of Christendom, it was the devil. It was demonic. Like I told y'all earlier, I couldn't even watch
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, anything that was it was the devil. We was into books like these. Pigs in the Parlor. I'm telling you, like, listen, if you looked a certain way, you had a demonic spirit. You got to go over into there's a, wait a minute, hold on. Commit yourself totally to Christ. Determine that every thought, word, and action will reflect that the very nature of Christ. I'm like, didn't Christ fart?
No, he did not. No.
You know what I'm saying?
Even the most, even the least devout households still have the same, similar Christian values that they will, put into the way they treat things. Even my parents aren't, the best Christians who are at church. I went to church more than them. But when it comes to me
And that was the church every time church doors open. You hear me? I had a key to the church.
It was me and my grandma. You was all up in there. But when I still in college, you need to go to therapy. Suddenly, everybody's, well, why don't you pray them demons away? Yeah. And then it ties into so many. I was like, you don't even.
No, they want to, and I just think it's funny that they want to talk about, you got Harry Potter. I think they want to say it was demonic because the spells and shit. Prayer is a spell.
It's a spell. Words are a spell.
But you can't tell that.
You can't tell that.
You can't call it that, but that's what it is.
I mean, they used to do exorcism, quick exorcism in church, and take the kids outside.
Because
they cover them
Technically a ritual.
But you can't tell them. That's the thing.
There's literally human sacrifice in the fucking Bible.
Yeah.
Jesus was a human sacrifice.
He was. He sacrificed himself, and we all acknowledge that.
Well, he didn't.
Well, yeah, you're right. They didn't. That was.
But it kind of all goes back to.
I'll take that back. I'm sorry.
How can I word this? So it kind of goes back to the whole idea of the ego, right? Mm-hmm. In order for you to accept something, in order for you to instill any kind of change, first you have to admit things are wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for most people, this is something that you've grown up your whole life. This is what it is. Mm-hmm. That can be a really tough thing to do, especially when you have to sit back and reflect oh shit, I potentially hurt people. I potentially have caused damage.
No, but
no
I'm
one
a
wants
Christian,
to admit.
so of course I do.
I mean,
So
at that point, it's just pride more so.
And see, I wouldn't even say it's pride. More or less, it's I have to accept this. But no one is really there when it comes to a lot of older generations because then they have to admit the whole culture's wrong.
I mean, that's what I mean.
Are you ready to do that?
I had this very same conversation with my grandma.
Sense there. I'm speaking of it more so as how it's described in the Bible that you want to believe yourself so high that you can't be wrong. That's pride.
Well, see, it actually supersedes your own thoughts because this is generational things that you've been taught. So not only do you have to admit that you're wrong, you have to admit that your grandmother, your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, the one that came before that, all of your cousins, your aunts.
And that's a rabbit hole.
Culture.
And that's the thing. That's a rabbit hole they're not willing to jump into, and they're either do it like us or get out.
I mean, they can do it the soft way, and it's maybe I was wrong. You can start there.
But they won't.
Because a lot of them simply do not have that awareness. Even if you tell them, us in the younger generation, tell them that they're wrong, to try and break.
Oh, that's the devil is a liar.
If
No,
they're
you're the star.
and they have rationalized in whatever irrational ways that they are right, like it is a hard thing to breach, and that's on like so many topics. And so it really comes to the questions of how do you start to create that change? Should you have some people that have that change created? And then I even wonder how did we get to the point where we are, and have to sit back and analyze that, because I think in certain circumstances I could very well have ended up very similar to different family members. But I feel like I had certain opportunities in life that put me in spaces that gave me more time to think and reflect for myself. I was sitting up in public libraries all day, reading books by myself, not being monitored, doing things like that in schools where I could have certain conversations with certain people once I left Christian school. There's just certain little things that gave me the space to get certain kinds of knowledge and tools at a younger age, but that's not always readily available for people. And so even to people our age who are still brought up very strictly in that, I feel very strongly in. It really brings up the question of how we combat that more widely.
And see, that's the same. Well, I'm gonna jump back to the Woman King because this ties in directly into that. That's why I'm kind of divided on that movie, like the whole thing with your ego and how you have to admit that things are wrong. So the whole Woman King thing was based on this, I want to say, this magnificent tribe of people that came from the kingdom of Dahomey. And there's these famous warriors that were all women. Pardon me if I pronounce the name wrong. The Goje, I think that's what they're called. But yes, in the movie, they're depicted as these heroes that, you know, they went out and they fought in the name of their king. And, you know, I thought it was very powerful in how they told the story. But it was, I think the biggest problem when it comes to movies is it's always told from the perspective of the person that it's based upon. So, originally, Lupita Nyong'o, y'all know her, beautiful, love her. Originally, she was supposed to star in that movie next to Viola Davis. And so, you know, she just was so intrigued by this story that she actually did some research of her own. And there's like a whole documentary that she did on this tribe of people. So yeah, while she was in, you know, the actual modern day Benin, that's where they are, she would speak to the people. They always spoke about these women warriors and how, you know, there was such high praise about the people and who they were and, you know, all the things that they did. But she took it a step further and she went to the neighboring country. She went to Nigeria, and it broke her heart to hear a lot of the stories about these women. Within the country they were in, they were revered. In all these other countries, they were feared. They would literally they would capture people from neighboring countries and sell them. And see, contrary to popular belief, they didn't have a choice because it was either take or be taken. But from the perspective of that lady that she sat down and did an interview from Nigeria, she said her grandmother was taken, her great-great-grandmother was taken, and a couple of her great-great ancestors that they would never know who they were because they were literally taken by these women like warriors and sold. And they were guilty of doing this in a lot of different places. At one point in time, they were the most powerful of, you know, the kingdoms that existed in Africa. Because of hearing all of these heartbreaking stories, Lupita Nyong'o stepped away from that project and decided not to take part in that movie. So, and you know, and it kind of goes back to the whole ego thing. Like, if she spoke to these women that were in modern day Benin, they loved them. And she said, well, I heard horrific stories about this. Why do y'all still celebrate these women and all this? She said, well, it's better to forgive. And, you know, it's, you know, they did some great things for our country. And, you know, I could tell that she was not ready to admit that it was wrong. Because then you have to pretty much admit the whole culture that you grew up in was wrong. What they did was wrong. But she's not in a space to admit that. No, I think she have the tools to admit that. Was it a beautiful film? Yes. Yeah. I think it was very refreshing, and I think from the perspective that it was told, it was beautifully done. Historically accurate, questionable, but at the same time, it still did what it was supposed to do, was to empower black women. That's what I got from it. I mean, so yeah.
It's a fictional movie. They're gonna romanticize it no matter what. Like, it's fictional. It's not.
I don't think anybody would actually go to a movie
to expect
to get this.
Yeah.
They went to go get something that was like,
yeah, girl,
woman.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
for me. That's sometimes the problem.
Yeah.
Because I think I've just gone past the point in my life where I want to see like powerful, empowering representation, and like, you know, because I keep seeing how much it's not doing for the community and how much it's almost like stifling certain kinds of education.
Yeah.
Because people will stop at that and not dig into the depths of their actual history or like other aspects of our even like contemporary culture.
Take the movie as gospel sometimes.
And so it's like, we'll see that. I think we've just made progress, or that this is how something was, but it wasn't. And so, like, I had a good convo with a friend about this because we both love period pieces. And we were talking about, you know, he was telling me I should watch this movie because we both love period pieces, because we always talk about how we want more African or just like black diaspora-based period pieces. But then what happens when there's not enough care given to the stories and things are being depicted improperly? And I mean, it happens with European period pieces as well. But like, what effect does that have on like our wider culture when we already don't have a lot of accurate information about our history? So it's like someone could tell something might be wrong with like a European film or an American period piece. But like, what if we don't even have the knowledge base to pick and like understand like the issues with media related to our own community?
And I agree. And I feel like in any community, there's good and there's bad. And I think it's all beautiful. But I feel like in order for anything to be translated on screen, at least in a way that is accurate, you have to encompass both. And it's really hard to do that and empower people at the same time. Because it's you made a good point. You even see it in a lot of the white period pieces. They're not about to reveal all the negative stuff that they did, at least not in a way that takes away from the story. So it...
like makes me ask, like, what are we being empowered to do?
Yeah.
I think, you know, at least as a community, there needs to be 3 types of movies. One where it's just, you know, empowering just to see black people get a shine on the screen, you know, take that as entertainment. I think period pieces are important, but ones that, you know, actually tell you the full thing rather than trying to romance it and essentially lie. And then third, I think movies that tackle shit like Moonlight does, really. That's, you know, the best way I can put it. I don't really know what you call that genre.
Cultural issues?
Yeah, social cultural issues.
I guess, but not one of those things where you fucking preaching the whole damn movie, but where you get to see perspective and actually see how it affects a character. And, you know, you can see it just from one person's experience, so you really get that humanization. And I don't know if that's giving people tools or whatnot, but I'm sure it helps somebody.
Yeah, and just for the record, I would just like to say I thoroughly hated that Moonlight movie. I hated it, but
I liked it to the halfway point.
It was just.
I thought the part when he was a kid, I thought when he's like a child was like the good part of the movie, and then you get to the teenager part, and then him as an adult, I didn't like at all.
Yeah, they did a good job of capturing his perspective, and I think that's cool. But it's not the only perspective that exists, and I just know that
because some people actually did that, lived through that.
And there's very few movies that capture, you know, a black queer experience, and the fact that that's one of them, and that's pretty much the baseline for a lot of people. I don't like that because I just didn't like the way that story was depicted. But since it was the first one to ever kind of exist in a space like that,
I don't think it was a perfect
What, Moonlight?
Yes.
They swear by it?
As I said, I enjoyed it.
Didn't he get like an Emmy?
But mostly to the halfway point. Because I could understand where his life was going up to that halfway mark, and then he's an adult. And at least for me, it took such a drastic hard change. I was like, ain't no fucking way.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
And
I think that's you pumped up full of iron. You got goals. I was like,
I just feel like that's a story to me that was improperly told. I feel like if they truly wanted to do what they could have with that, they should have broke that up into a 3-part movie.
I agree.
His childhood, his teenage years, and his adulthood.
That truly would have captured more of an understanding how he got there.
Yeah.
Moonlight was very cheap to make. It actually had one of the lowest budgets. That's why it did so well.
That's what I'm saying. They had to put it all in one movie
Well,
because
I mean,
who would give them the opportunity?
I feel like
to
if
show
they
it?
really
gonna
took
come
it
back
home
for part one,
with
part
the
two?
childhood one, then I feel like they really could have got more funding for the second one.
Honestly, yeah, because he got
People love
nominated
that
for an
childhood
award.
coming of age shit.
Yeah, funding to me really isn't that much of a big deal when it comes to issues like that. Because the way that
Honest-
movies are funded, they're funded by multiple sources anyway.
Also, I
As soon as it's
think,
greenlit, you have access to those.
I think it speaks to your ability as a director that, at least for him, I don't know Barry, but whatever. I think it speaks more what you can do with what you have, rather than you got so much money that it's a lot of the time I see a lot of them get so much money they don't know what to fucking do with it. I mean, just look at that last Thor movie. I didn't see it, but I'll talk about Ragnarok. I thought Ragnarok was ass. I'm sorry. I thought all that comedy shit with Thor was half baked. And you try to give him this little tragedy thing that he lost his fucking hammer, he's got to sacrifice his home or whatever. But you put that in the middle of a bunch of slapstick bullshit, and Thor and Hulk over here is talking like a damn toddler. And I'm sorry, that Thor Ragnarok was ass to me, and I don't think Taika Waititi is a bad director. I think it's that, at least with that particular circumstance, it shows it's like you gave this motherfucker way too much money.
But Thor Ragnarok was the third one.
Even
and
so,
they have a following.
And it's a completely different director for each one of them.
That's what I'm saying, and it's backed by Marvel, and they have the opportunity to get those fundings to be able to produce a movie like that is ass.
They sort of just let Taika Waititi do whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
Anything that's black, they try to cheapen it. They don't want you to tell the full story. Tell it, but make it pretty. Don't go too deep. Just give it just enough. That is the way that it is. It's not right.
Unless it's trauma porn.
And that's what it is. And it's palatable to the people, to not us. It's not for those movies. I hate that. It's not for us. It's made by people that look like us, but it's not for
But this is
us.
what I'm meaning when I'm
It's for
agreeing with
people that
Cadin that Moonlight, if they wanted to do it right, should have done 3 movies. I understand that looking at it from that perspective looks like you wouldn't be able to do it. But honestly, as I was saying, it really takes creativity to get done what you want to get done. As I said, no disrespect to the director, but me personally, I would have just filmed a bunch of scenes and shit and lied, and then just put out the movie that I want to do. Because they have all these pre-screenings and whatnot. Show the fucking shit in the pre-screening and cut that shit.
We had this conversation about how a lot of movies and advertisements,
it's not that simple, but I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
like to put out about the relationships. Like they like to put out very much so interracial gay relationships, interracial heterosexual, and it's like, can I just see
The swirl agenda.
Can I just see a regular black couple? I know everybody in motherfucking happy, but can I just see a regular 2 niggas together kissing and shit with their regular children? That's all I want to see.
And it ties back to that whole, like, I feel like this whole thing ties back to the representation conversation. I would love to delve into, like, what you were just bringing up, too. But, like, even when you're talking about Moonlight, it's like you're getting that a black queer story, but like what is it doing for the wider people? Like what are they taking in? What are non-black queer people taking in from this? If these stories are not always being told with care. And then we get a lot of black representation in terms of romantic relationships that's interracial. I was just watching The L Word. Major swirl agenda, the original one. Like, it's just, and then I'm like,
and
like, what's the value? And we already have this issue in the queer community of like idealizing whiteness and like white queer people, especially since understanding that you're already subjugated more being a person of color and queer. Like, how do we get out of just feeling like that's good representation, a black person who's just constantly with like a white or even just non-black?
I think the reason why they market it like that, because I that was one of my majors in school, was journalism, marketing, videography and stuff. But they do that because it's not about us. Because typically we just accept whatever the fuck they put on TV, you know what I'm saying? But to make it more palatable for white peoples, you know what I'm saying? I need to see something that looks like me.
Because then you see the reaction to P-Valley, and...
Oh, I loved it. Didn't nobody like P-Valley for two reasons. There were not a lot of white people in there, and it was a bunch of colored folks doing what colored folks do. And
I
they were doing
looked at you so strange when you was like, nobody like, I love P-Valley.
Oh no, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Actually, contrary to popular belief,
I've not yet
P-Valley
seen
was actually
it.
really
Those
popular
spoilers.
amongst white people.
Really?
And this is kind of segueing me back to a point. White people never have an issue with anything not including them. We actually had a conversation about this. It doesn't matter what the event is, a white person will show up.
That is true.
Because they are taught that they belong in every
They
space.
do belong everywhere.
So even
That's
when
what
it
they
comes
do.
to movies, and this is why I'm like, see, we understand this from a marketing perspective. Because it's what we grew up in, which is why I don't understand in movies why they don't embrace that. Because I'm like, it doesn't matter.
I was taught something totally
It's
different.
like, it does not matter who's at the forefront of who's in love with who. The white people will show up and watch it fucking anyway. They would spend their money.
All right,
Listen, it was just
when you said that. All right, when you said that, I did feel a way when I was watching Woman King and I saw this two white couple. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know, and
Two white
I
couples? Who's that?
Just like just two white people, and I was like, this had nothing to do with you, because I was like, is it me? I gotta check myself. I'm like, damn, come on. better
There was
than that.
I mean,
You know, but I was sitting there and I was leaving. I was like, damn, what are you? This has nothing to do with you. Like,
Oh, they was in the movie theater.
yeah. I was
Oh,
like, why are you
okay.
even here?
Because I was like, I didn't
You know?
see that.
So I was like, why are you even here? But the second time I had to catch myself. I'm like, okay, I guess.
But see-
They're just like the idea, I guess. But they do feel like they belong. in that
Yeah,
space.
if you check the ratings on P-Valley, white people love that shit. They also loved, whatchamacallit, the other one that got canceled, the one, Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft
That was
They
so
love that
fucking
shit.
good.
Really?
The thing is, yes.
Good.
Yes,
That
and they
was
got
so
canceled.
good.
But see, the thing is, sorry,
Peace, Michael K. Williams.
versus
by the
what's
way.
actually happening, what's getting pushed in media is very telling. Because there are a lot of white people that don't have an issue,
Lil Boosie.
especially because if you go and you check the ratings
Fuck
and the
Lil
rating
Boosie,
boxes and
just
all these
saying.
other things,
Hashtag
they don't have an
fuck
issue with
Lil
this.
Boosie.
They're taught literally from the beginning of time that you belong in every space, even the black ones.
The hell?
So it's
Question regarding which things, like the reasons why they're enjoying and like watching certain things. Because I know a lot of white people that love the Boondocks, and that show has never really been for them.
Yeah.
But the things they laugh at and find funny in that show, and they find entertaining, is very different from what black people tend to
Yeah.
find entertaining. And so, like,
Please,
you can sum up-
Elaborate.
elaborate on
Give us
that.
an example.
What they find funny, nigga? What they find funny?
Now, what's so funny?
Shit.
We have to pull up an episode for all that.
Oh, come on.
just
I mean,
No.
shit, the thing about
There-
stink meter. The stink meter.
Stink.
What up?
I think it's almost like minstrelsy. Like they just love seeing
They
black
like people
folks acting
farting.
crazy and seeing Uncle Ruckus do this and that, and they just love seeing black people act like whatever. But we see it more as like satirical and a very intelligent satire. That's also like funny, entertaining, and like relatable in many ways.
Well, I mean-
but they're just seeing funny jokes of people getting bleeped out and saying the N word and like God knows.
Oh yeah, they want to be comfortable saying the N word too, bitch. I wish you would.
it just goes to show it doesn't matter what it is.
I
They feel
feel like
comfortable doing it.
if it's a black creator making something for black people, you at a certain point you can't worry about what white people think about what you made. It's gonna be something anyway. That's at least that's what I see a lot of time with
They still
black
gonna give you
creators
money.
these days. It's like it's always you see them hold it. You get that feeling with a lot of shit that black people make that they're holding back because of what white people are gonna think.
Well, yeah, I think there
You
are always
know.
a lot of that. Do you
It's-
still consider?
It's not what
But
they
I-
think. It's how it gets funded. I don't think we care.
Either way, I mean,
about that.
as I said, when it comes to funding, I don't think it's a matter of how you get it funded, because I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit different morally. I don't care where the money comes from. Fuck that. But I think it's a matter of what you get them to stand behind is what I mean. Of like, it takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of finesse. I am speaking generally. I am not a filmmaker. Do not take my advice necessarily. But I'm
Thoughts and the
saying,
opinions of Theo.
I'm saying, if it was me making a film, I'm willing to go through a lot of links to make what I want to fucking make. So if that means I gotta lie, if that means I gotta shoot a bunch of bullshit with some white people, that I hire on, some extras and shit. I'm just saying, if I got a live, I gotta do all that shit, and then I just film a bunch of other shit.
And see,
I'm not making a movie. I don't care.
Realistically, people are way more.
Yeah, I mean that's cool and everything. It
just depends, you know. I'm speaking generally.
It depends. You are not surviving off that though. Like that's not your life. If your life is filmmaking, if your life is filmmaking, and you pay your bills by filmmaking, you like no matter how much you really want to like put your all into it, you are going to hold back a little bit to get your bills paid. I don't really care.
So since you said it, let me just say this: as a content creator, I will tell you this: that even though my passion is helping people and telling these stories of horrific things and then wonderful things that have happened and whatever, that ain't what people want. They want bullshit. They want the nitty gritty tea. They want to laugh. They want the gossip. They want the mess. Church folks, white folks, black. They want it all. They don't want pretty. They want bullshit. That's exactly what they want. So as a person who create movies, you can't always give them like, this is what happened in Uganda.
Oh, I'm not saying always.
Because then
I'm not saying do this for, I'm not saying I would do this for every project.
But here's the thing. It's like you have to understand the demographics, and in order to make money, there are certain things that you have to do.
Yeah, because
you don't have to sacrifice your soul, but it's like there are certain things that you have to do in order to get what you're trying to get.
So I was watching an interview with Breakfast Club because I was curious what the cast was saying, and Viola Davis said she was pushing for the movie for over 7 years.
What, talking about Woman King?
Woman King. She said she had it in the works for 7 years, the funding and all that to get it a breakthrough and let them accept it, and so many cuts she had to take out. And she said,
wow,
if she had actual director's cut, it would be a lot longer than that. So she said she had to do a lot of cuts and make appeals to the people who's giving the money, and she had to fight for the cast because they wanted to whitewash it a little bit, and she was the people that she had to pull for. So it's a lot of pulling and to get the funds to get it done, and a lot.
Somebody said hence why 90 people. But baby, it was more than 90 people watching. Thank you. But
the movie has grossed a lot of money actually.
Yeah, but she said she was tugging for a long time. She and the director and the girl that played the daughter was in the Breakfast Club talking about it. They pulled for a long time. Like they've been pulling a long time.
It's all about the money.
It's the money.
It's
so
money.
She and she had the money. She would have done it.
She would have done it the way she wanted it. She would have done it with the cash she wanted it. She would have probably done it more original to the story.
Make content, honestly.
But hence, this is why Tyler Perry is a billionaire.
I was literally gonna bring that up.
This is why Tyler Perry is a billionaire.
Did you see my new movie?
Tyler Perry pushes bullshit.
After Acrimony.
I am so sick. Oh, I watched Acrimony one time and I didn't touch no more. I'm at a point where I hate I even bought it.
You know how many people that movie offended that actually had like borderline personality disorder?
That I didn't like.
We watched that shit and flipped it.
I did not like that movie. I was like, I was bothered.
Other black friends in the theaters, and I was like, and we all just.
It could have.
He's just saying
this man is not it for the culture.
But I need to watch a Tyler Perry movie these days, honestly.
And you know,
I got tired. I'm gonna say probably like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that. I got tired of every time I got up, it was another play. It was another singing. I was like, can y'all please stop fucking singing and just tell the goddamn story? Tyler Perry has become a billionaire off telling raggedy ass black stories that we all know, and I'm so sick and he's made billions off of Medea. That was actually somebody else.
Let the record show that Medea's a drag queen, y'all.
Yeah, Sophia.
There's
one of the most famous drag queens in the world.
It's deep and misogynoir. Like which I think is a big thing. Like, why is so much money being made off of like stories that are telling, like, just showing trauma for black women, showing black women in terrible lights? Like, it's just, it's.
Did he do For Color Girls?
He did.
Yes.
What bothers me about Tyler Perry is,
trauma porn.
I know he definitely like put some people
so you're doing
on.
the bending.
Yes, I am.
I know Tyler Perry put some people on or some shit, but he created a whole fucking studio. He puts on like actors. He'll keep working with them and shit.
Let me tell you something. This man created a whole TV series about men with big dicks that swing around in a club.
No
movie.
All the Queen's Men.
No, I didn't never heard of it.
I'm just like, this is his fantasy. I mean, I was sitting there like.
But I'm just this what I'm trying to
Tyler
say about
Perry.
Tyler
Like,
Perry
what?
is, and hey, you know, if I'm wrong, if I just don't know what else he's done, you know, hey, fuck me. But
He probably would love that.
I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But this is my biggest problem with it. It's like you would think you sit there and you become a billionaire. I don't know if he's a multi-billionaire.
Baby, he's a billionaire.
Then
I
know he's
mean,
a
multi
billionaire.
something. I
Either
looked
way,
on
so
Forbes. He's up in there.
You're a billionaire and all, and you just still keep pushing Hollywood bullshit.
Hollywood black
And
bullshit.
you don't. And I know there's other black people out there, black directors or black creatives that they're trying to get their shit pushed.
Listen to Paris. You want to work with me?
And
Okay.
they're trying to get their shit pushed, and he made that whole fucking backlot studio for himself. And let's be real, he doesn't really put on other black creatives like that.
No.
You know, and honestly, you would think you got a billionaire black filmmaker, he could have started his own studio, something like that. You know, if he wanted to, and you could have basically, you know, be letting black people create whatever the fuck they want to do.
Tyler Perry could do a Google.
For the most part, I'm
Tyler
not saying
Perry could do a
everything, but you get-
Google.com. He could create a space for black content
I'm
creators.
saying he could, but he's an
I didn't
asshole.
want to hire like the proper writers.
Hold on. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's making his money. He's a billionaire.
Putting out short films
He's a
without proper
billionaire.
writers,
Who are we
terrible
to tell
storylines.
him what to do with his money? Like,
I mean, I'm not telling him
We
what
are
to do with
who
his
he
money.
is.
I'm
are
judging.
we his financial advisors? No. We like,
The problem is
I
the
will
community
judge.
just
I
keeps
will judge
supporting
them.
it. And that's why I feel like even if like one of his recent movies is probably good, I probably don't watch it because I just can't keep supporting his
I mean-
wider body.
Okay.
I mean, to be real, I was never one of the people that gave a fuck about Tyler Perry. I cared about The House of Pain, and that's it. Everything else Tyler Perry's done, in my eyes, was always bullshit.
And you know, jumping a little further into like the whole,
I didn't see that.
the whole.
Oh, it
black-
said Jasmine Blues.
Yeah, that's the
On
one.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Jumping into the whole black creator thing and how he's one of the more prominent ones. It's just, this is why I love our organization. I'll plug us real quick. When we go to telling other people's stories, we make sure we go the extra effort to do it with care. So we do this thing monthly called a series where we capture like different experiences and different social issues. And we go the extra step to make sure that we are telling stories with care, like you said. And Tyler Perry, unfortunately, I want to say in the beginning he thought about that, and then he got rich, and then that kind of went out the window. But aside, I think a good example of someone telling a story with care would probably be Ryan Coogler with Black Panther. I thought that was beautifully told. He captured the good, the bad, and the ugly in that, and yet we still somehow left feeling empowered after that. Because there were some things.
You know it was fake, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That
but-
makes sense. I'll keep going, but I have something.
But yeah, he touched on a lot of stuff about like, you know, how, you know, in the African American community here in America, there's a lot of violence and all this other stuff. He even touched on how he lost his dad at a young age. He wove that in there and people didn't even notice it. Now that's in most cases, that's a very common thing because, you know, people go to jail, a lot of systematic oppression and all this stuff. He wove all of these themes into this movie. But at the end of it, you still were able to say that I am proud to be a black person after watching that. So it can be done. It can be done. Is Tyler Perry going to do it?
Are we dressing up for Wakanda Forever?
I feel like
My brother wants
Black
Are we
Panther
dressing up?
I'm still on the fence if I'm
really-
gonna watch it.
You don't want to watch?
I'm on the fence right now.
I feel like Black Panther really resonated with people in a way because we don't see a lot of black fantasy. We don't see a lot of black fantasy, and we don't see a lot of black.
You see black
sci-fi.
porn.
Not really. Child, they always trying to pair somebody with someone else that's not black. You type in black and you get black in everything else.
It depends on where you go to.
Child.
Oh, dang.
There was a whole Twitter debate on this. It was like, I said black, not blacked. Like it.
They give you Robert and and Sean Cody.
No, it'd be Darnell with
Brendan.
Michael.
Brendan. I don't want to see Darnell with Brendan. What is this?
Oh, but then they like that's in their head. That's their
empire.
Yes.
That's why I don't want to see Tyrone
Give me that
with Brandon.
cock.
I don't want to see it.
Give me that big cock.
The BBC controversy.
Yeah.
But before we
That's a whole
jump,
different.
That's all.
jump topics,
That's all.
you were talking about something else, Jasmine.
I think it was like a black sci-fi, black fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
I think outside of things like period pieces and social cultural films that we're talking about, like black folks in their communities, I think.
Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a comment there. It's because he was working on that script for a long time. It wasn't just like something that he just pulled out of nowhere.
Who?
The Jasmine Blues.
Tyler Perry. That
That
was the first script that he actually wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
That
So
Tyler
that's why.
Perry wrote?
Yes, that's why it's a little different. And Tyler Perry actually wanted to play the lead, but he didn't because he realized he was too old for that. So he removed himself from the movie, which is big of him.
Because he normally in it.
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you
that makes
off.
sense.
What is Jasmine Blues?
I've never seen it.
I'll wait until Tyler Perry does something that I find interesting before I give a shit.
He has done a lot. I'm not going to take that from him. He has done monumental moves, but not all representation is good representation. Obviously, because
monumental
I mean, it's,
for himself.
if you want me to, like, it's a period piece based in the 40s, I think, about like a black girl. She's passing in Georgia.
Is it streaming or do I gotta go see it?
Netflix.
Is it kind of like that?
I might give it a chance.
Is it kind of like that movie that Halle Berry did called Queen, where she was a black woman passing as a white woman?
I thought they already did an adaptation of Passing on
No,
Netflix.
they did a movie called Passing on
Rude
Netflix. I liked it, but
I have not seen it.
I think that was based on that movie Queen.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Oh, it starred Halle Berry, and she pretty much was the master. Well, she was a illegitimate child of a slave master, and you navigate her life as, you know, a black woman, but she passes. So for a whole section of the movie, she's passing as a white woman, and then finally she gets outed, and the whole thing goes ballistic.
That sounds like Imitation of Life.
Or like The Bluest Eyes, by Toni Morrison.
Or just
I see that
Passing in
one.
general.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I
That's
cut you off. You were
too
saying something really.
Do you remember something?
Now you were saying something.
Oh gosh, we just have gone.
Do we need to get a round of drinks?
I was talking about fantasy sci-fi Black Panther, but I was saying I think it's a commentary on how we can be empowered through alternative kinds of media that aren't just like historical shows and historical films and the usual satire and the usual kinds of stories like Tyler Perry shit. Because I think we don't have a lot of black people seeing ourselves in alternative environments, imagining alternative futures for ourselves in the way that white people get to almost all of the time. And I feel like that's a really integral part of like what our existence should be, but we don't get it a lot. And so I think like Black Panther just resonated with people because they got so much.
We got the Black Superman.
Just
That's actually the game,
and that's why I feel like the
Dwayne
girls are
Johnson?
gonna love Black Little Mermaid.
Dwayne Johnson.
No, I'm saying like no. I'm just saying the Black Panther was like the Black Superman for the Black community.
Okay, so then they're making, was it the Black Adam?
Oh,
That's- no,
that's
that's-
already I'm talking about like Black Panther is just like a representation.
Yeah,
of Black
yeah, yeah,
Superman for the
yeah,
Black
yeah.
community. So
Yeah.
full support, you know, in
And
an essence.
Oh no, I mean, going back to your comment, I love the Little Mermaid growing up.
That's how we got started, the Little Mermaid.
I loved her so much. I did have a coloring book, and when I colored her, I did color her with brown skin.
Hey.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those. I changed her color in the coloring book. But I loved the Little Mermaid so much, mostly because of the music, and it's like, you know, it was cute, and I'm excited to watch it.
As the music is good, I will enjoy the movie.
Because I feel like it's crazy how much things that maybe aren't rooted in reality can resonate with us. Because when I saw that clip of Hallie singing that song, like I teared up.
I did too.
Like there's something beautiful about that, and it's hard to describe the value of it. But maybe we don't always have to have like a strict value on things like that.
I mean, I just want to see a good movie with black people in it. I don't always need commentary for everything, so I'm just hoping it's a good fucking movie.
But you know, media innately is commentary, even if it's subconscious. I'm like, that's why media was created. So I feel like for us to neglect that piece, when it comes to like movies and all this other stuff, you're not gonna sell the movies because that's what everyone's paying for. So
that's what I mean. I mean, like, I'm not going to every single movie. Like, I mean, I'm watching a lot of fucking movies. Sometimes I just cut the shit on to cut it on. But I'm not sitting there at least going to The Little Mermaid for that. You know, I just want to see fucking Halle be The Little Mermaid. That's what I'm going there for. I know there's like a whole deeper meaning underneath the story and everything like that. But it's like sometimes I just like to enjoy myself.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the case in point there is The Little Mermaid can get told with the mermaid being black because it's not centered to the story. So I mean,
that's what I mean. That's what I'm
trying to say. A little white mermaid. It's just a little mermaid.
Oh wait, all her
And we
color.
still find it valuable
All
to
her
see
sister's
her
color.
depicted in that way
Loved it.
because of what that can mean in wider society.
Didn't say the little black mermaid.
And so I think it's just
You know what I'm saying?
so in that sense,
Well,
I do see there's
go ahead,
value
let her finish.
representation, but like a very specific kind of way that I think is separate from the usual commentary around representation.
I think when it comes down to characters that we've all grown up with, and we can kind of like comment in a second. I think when it comes down to the characters that we've all grown up with, people have an issue when you change them. Santa Claus has always been white. We changed him and we gave him a black Santa Claus.
I kind of want to keep him white because I don't like the idea of a black man breaking into a home laying gifts somewhere. I'm like,
Wait.
bad representation, bro.
Santa Claus, Jesus, cartoons, Mickey Mouse, but Mickey Mouse was always black, but they, anyways, it's,
Hold on. I want to ask you an interesting question. Do we consider Mickey Mouse black?
Mickey Mouse is black.
He's black in Kingdom Hearts.
I'm just double checking.
Hey,
Because
it's
I always thought he was.
no, like
Yeah, it's like a favorite game.
there's something about the white glove.
Homer, The Simpsons.
The white gloves, yeah.
The white gloves. There's a
Homer
reason
black?
why they gave a lot of those
like
characters
this-
white
They say there's something easier to draw or something like that. I can't remember.
No, it has
It's
historical
some minstrel
significance.
shit. It's some minstrel shit.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Vaudeville.
Vaudeville, yeah.
But I mean, I think it's just, I mean, at least with Mickey Mouse and those sorts of fucking things. I don't know how everyone is viewing that now, though. If we're just gonna keep looking at it as a minstrel thing, or we're just gonna see Mickey Mouse.
I see Mickey Mouse, but
I mean,
there's,
I didn't find out about the minstrel thing until I was like 20. So.
Yeah, I see right too.
you know,
You see Ratatouille.
I'm a little rat. That's a
Did
Ratatouille.
someone tell me that Remy was black, the rat in Ratatouille?
Listen, he's got gray blue
Oh,
fur. He's
no.
got gray blue fur.
Oh man.
I didn't say it, but I want to put it. I want to put him on the board. I want.
so he's a nigga.
No.
I want him.
Nigga rat.
I want him.
Why would you say it?
He's from the slums, so you know how to
Okay,
cook.
look. This is why that motherfucker was seasoning that food.
Listen,
I'm just saying that motherfucker
listen.
cook his ass off.
Hear me out. I don't think he was black.
I don't think
But then what
so.
about the rats?
Listen,
Remy was giving me
me.
Asian vibes.
He gave me a half French, half white.
I'm
French.
He was a
Give me
French-
that way. He's a French rat.
Chinese nigga.
He wasn't giving me Chinese.
Not a
though.
Blasian
He
rat,
wasn't
I'm
chopping it
saying.
like
He was
that.
Blasian. Because I look at it this way, and you know,
I'll give him that.
Betty
I'm gonna be a
Boop
little
was black,
problematic.
yes. Betty
I'm gonna be
Boop.
a little problematic right now.
Oh Lord.
Just a little problematic. Remy was working with some seasonings that our
Betty
people
Boop
are
was
not
black.
accustomed to working with. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
What was that?
Trash for one. Garbage.
but I mean, a lot of the
Yeah.
flavors that we work with are very base. I hate that I'm gonna say this, but yes, a lot of the flavors in soul food are kind of all the same. He was working with a lot of complex flavors
Yes,
that our
he
community
was.
typically doesn't work with.
Cheese and strawberries.
I mean,
He was learning from the TV.
he was learning from the TV. So
I
I
learned from the TV. I
And he
don't
was
know.
experimenting too.
He gives me half and half
If he's
vibes.
black,
I'm gonna put him on the
black
board
American,
personally.
he could be black.
I kind of want to ask the question: what
He's
cartoons
lost
do we
spices.
consider black now that aren't explicitly? I say
The food
Jerry
would be more
from Tom and
spicy.
Jerry.
the food would be
The
more
food
spicy.
would be more spicy. No, he not black. He not Asian either. Because the food would be more spicy. Let's
He's
think about
from-
pearl.
We gonna think about this.
Think.
Yeah, we're gonna think.
He's from France.
He's black. I just love him.
You know, he's a
When you listen
Bla-
to his dad's accent, it's giving.
he's Blasian, but he went to culinary school in
Northeastern
France.
American.
Northeastern.
Because I don't know the difference between all the accents.
He's from Minnesota.
From Minnesota.
Because his dad told me, like, you can't.
That was a very American accent for a rat that was living in France. Let's talk about that.
It was.
That was a little off.
The origins of Remy, the world may never know.
His daddy came over in a jazz player.
They came over on the cruise ship. They had came over on the cruise ship.
That's why his name was Remy. Get
Remy
it?
in the countryside.
I'm dead.
I love it.
What about
Sorry.
Beale Street Could Talk? What is that?
If Beale Street Could Talk is a movie.
It's a
It's
movie.
inspired by a book by James Baldwin.
I think it's based in Memphis.
Memphis.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Ain't
In
Beale Street-
the movie?
ain't Beale Street in Memphis?
Yeah, Beale Street. That's.
Can you enlighten me about what it's about?
I have no idea.
I haven't read the book or seen the movie, but I know it's like relationships and shit are mostly at the center.
I
of it.
think one of
No.
the main
It's not like a romantic thing exactly, but it's just like it's like kind of the thing that you can center around. I mean, I'm just going off of the James Baldwin stuff that I've read. That does seem to be like a thing he does, is center it around relationships and such.
Oh.
So I read
But it's a black
Go
couple.
Tell It on the Mountain, and
They're both
that
black.
book was like about
Oh. Is it a-
essentially him. It's essentially about him.
Is it a straight relationship?
It said it took place in New York.
Oh, New York.
That's what I was thinking. The buildings, I was about to say,
Is
don't
it-
look like Tennessee.
But ain't Beale Street in Tennessee?
Beale Street is in Tennessee.
Is it a gay relationship, a straight relationship?
It's a
What is it?
straight relationship
Oh, okay.
between, like, yeah, but they both black, but I don't think it's a happy one. So
I don't think it
together
is.
long.
But I'm not going to speak on it because I haven't seen the movie.
Me either.
I'm just thinking about,
Thank you.
you know, how James Baldwin writes. And I know he does center a lot of his books and a lot of his writing around relationships, not in necessarily the romantic way, but it's just the way you inform the story.
Another author, since we're bringing up black authors, that I really liked in the way that she told her stories, what we're gonna call it, who our beloved, was it Toni Morrison?
Toni Morrison.
Yeah, her stories, phenomenally written.
Toni Morrison is the next one on my list. I think Beloved might be the one that I read, but I got a
That
lot of
book covered that book covered a lot of different
Yeah,
traumatic
honestly,
shit.
touch on
I
the
keep
theme
like I
books.
hop into the classics and hop out sort of thing.
Basically, well, I can tell you
Those
it's
ones are a
about
lot heavier than what we got now. I'm telling you that right now.
Okay, so we gon' cause I know we've been on here like an hour and 36 minutes. So this is what I'm looking at. I was thinking about all the movies that everybody named. Why is it that for the most ignorant and traumatic movies that display black people, that is the only time they want to give us Emmys, Golden Globes, Doves, whatever else awards?
Doves.
Training Day, Denzel Washington, Precious, Monique, Halle Berry, Monster Ball.
Hold on. At least this is the way I look at it. So I was watching the trailer for that documentary on Sidney Poitier, and I don't know what it was that he got. I think he got an Oscar for Best Actor at one time.
It was a dumb reason they gave him. Go ahead.
But at the same time, I do agree it was a dumb reason, but at the same time, it was just that he was
Coonan.
that. But it was like
With a capital
this
three
sort of
Ks.
lead up, you know.
Coonan.
It was like this sort of lead up, right? Whereas he was so fucking good prior to that you couldn't deny his ability, but that's what they want to give it to him for. Honestly, I think it's just a way to continue to bring black people down in that way. Because
They
at least
did him
me-
like that with Harry Belafonte as well.
with at least me, my mom watched the Oscars, my whole family watched the Oscars. I never gave a fuck about the Oscars, me personally, mainly just because of how I am. I care about what, you know, like white friends who have treated me right. But on the broader sense, I really just couldn't give a fuck less what white people think about me on the whole. You know, maybe that'll affect my life, maybe it won't. Whatever.
It will.
It will.
I mean, at least up into this, but I've operated the same way. Like,
The thoughts and the opinions are appeal.
my personality and what I talk about, I have never changed that. This is how I've talked and spoken, only albeit in a much lower register and about sillier shit ever since I was like 3 or 4 years old. You know, it's like I've never sat there and changed my personality whatsoever, so it hasn't really affected me that deeply. Maybe it will, maybe it
So you
won't.
never go to hey, you speak Haitian, right? No.
Haitian.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, but yeah, you gotta code switch. You have to code switch, and you have to use it when you're beneficial for you to stand out and seem like you're, you know.
This is how I talk with everybody.
It's I understand.
People mostly just take it as me being Southern rather than me speaking.
I'm gonna tell you, I've always done that because growing up,
how I talk.
in order to get things that you needed and wanted, especially when you went into certain spaces, you had to change your dialect, what you said, how you said.
Because the way I talk, like, I mean, right now I'm like talking about movies and shit. But if you want me like super philosophical and all that shit, like I have the vocabulary and everything to do that, and it's not anything I ever switched around. We're talking about movies, and I'm not dumbing myself down.
Okay, so let me say this.
But if you want to talk about like super deep philosophy and shit like that,
let me say this. When it gets to the point where you are going to a space of somebody that's going to be giving you thousands, even millions of dollars, okay, and I'm really not being offensive when I say this, but like, yeah, what up, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, I promise you could be the best person and be as most you could be doing. But wait, listen. You have to come like these people, even though they probably talk like trash. When you go into their meetings, it's like you got to step your game up to be like, this is the reason why I am here, and this is my repertoire. This is my resume of who I am, and you have to speak with such authority that they be like, oh well, geez, Paul, let's look at that. Is that bad?
Well, no.
Let me clarify. That's not what I view as code switching though, because you hear the way that I'm talking, like my dialect now. Yeah. That's what I mean that I don't change. But if you talk about the put on the suit, yes sir, these are my qualifications. I've done this, that, and the fourth. I don't view that as code switching.
If you do this at home and you do that at work,
I do that at home. I do that with my family. I was taught the whole yes sir.
But it's like I can't just go in there and just speak with my
manners.
I
thought it was manners
and a mannerism. I can't go in there with a swag that I hold at home.
See,
that's what I mean. When I'm comfortable, I'm comfortable.
I'll go into that.
But when it comes to like the way I present my voice, the words I use, obviously I'm not cussing in there, but the words I use and such, I use the same words and everything most of the time. It's going to be the same opportunity.
And I didn't know I was sorry.
I
didn't. All right, so we went to that ball that we had at USF. And I ran into some other Caribbean people who were the Tampa campus. And I didn't know code switching or anything until we actually stood around in a circle and talked to each other about what we did, you know what I'm saying? And they mentioned to me, oh, code switching, and I realized they were doing the literal same thing that I've been doing throughout my, you know what I'm saying, my school life. And I'm like, damn, I had to cut back, change my accent, fix it up. The older generation can't really do that.
If I had to say I have a code switch, it would be more that I'm just like a lot more reticent, really, and taciturn. Like I'll just, I don't. When it comes to shit like that, I don't do a whole lot of explaining. I don't really elaborate on a whole lot of shit other than my qualifications and such like that. If it's talking about like, oh, where you grew up or something like that, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida. Now leave it at that. Like I don't explain any further that. I'm not talking about family shit in there. Like that's the only real code switch that I have.
But it's look at it from a different sense, like an immigrant.
I think it's extreme for you.
Because he really want to get this out.
Sorry. No, I get it. I want to hear everything he's saying.
He's like, I got to say my shit.
Yeah,
say my shit.
And see, when it comes to code switching, I've done several trainings on this about how I'll use professionalism as an example. How it's very much rooted in whiteness. So when we code switch, we tend to try to take on the qualities of the majority of people in the room. See, that's also.
How are you guys doing?
And see, I get the perspective that everyone out here is coming from, but at the same time, I understand Theo's perspective as well, because what people fail to realize that it's also very nuanced, and it also depends on who else is in the room. So, I guess the example that I use, and I'm going to do this, say me and Marvin are giving a presentation, right? Marvin is dark skinned. I'm considered closer to white. So that I could see, in spaces like that, in spaces like that where I'm perceived as a person that is closer to white, I can get away with saying a lot more stuff that, quote unquote, if he said it, he'd be looked at as ghetto. I say it, it's considered, oh, he's just being spunky and all this other stuff. Like, it gets a little deeper than that. So there are some spaces where you can break that professional mold and it doesn't look bad depending on who else is in the room. So that's why code switch.
Who you are and who else is in the room.
Those intersections.
Yeah, those intersections really affect what you can and cannot do in a room. And sometimes it'll help or hinder you. Like, I think one of the biggest things I learned, especially when it came to interviews, there's specific spaces where I need to dial up on specific things and dial back on things. In higher ed, it's full of queer people. If you interview and you dial that up, more than likely they will hire you. If you are going into higher ed, I just gave you a tip. So, I mean, it like I said, it depends on who's in the room.
So I need to be like, yes, girl, how you doing?
I've done it. I have. Well, yeah.
Don't tell me that.
And see.
I need to finish up.
And I think black people are really unique in a sense, especially if you have those intersectionalities.
London, you hear that?
Because I know that there are some spaces in the room where we can turn up on some things and turn down on some things, but it's not as simple as going into a space and being authoritative, like you were saying. It's not that simple. And for him, it works.
For women, being authoritative is sometimes
it's bad.
For black women,
it's bad.
There is an art of assertiveness being a black woman in like professional spaces, especially corporate spaces, that I have been trying to navigate, especially since I'm often speaking on behalf of a lot of people. And they, like white women or white men, they can be really aggressive in their communications and expect me to model the same thing with their teams. But I cannot communicate in that way exactly. I have to have a little more politeness with it, a little bit more softness with it, a certain extra language around it, a certain extra understanding with it, in order to not be perceived as being like really harsh. Because I've already gotten feedback, even still, from people at my job finding me a bit intimidating. And I keep thinking, I am the least intimidating person
I have met.
Yes.
I'm like, even her talking now, I'm like, intimidating.
Oh no.
Girl, these supposed to be some soft ass people.
Oh my God.
What are you going to say?
And I think it ties into what you were saying, so I wanted to bring it up earlier too with code switching. It's like, it's complicated. Like if you're darker skinned sometimes, you have a little bit less leeway, like the darker skin you are as a black woman, and being a woman. Like there are certain things that you are navigating with code switching because you're navigating people perceiving you as being more aggressive, people perceiving you as being more incompetent. And I think when you tie in other things like accents, like there are ideas people have in their mind when they hear an accent, whether it's a Caribbean accent, whether it's like an African accent, Middle Eastern, like there are things that they have in their mind.
Ain't gonna lie, but they acknowledge it, I swing with it.
Yeah.
Are you from Jamaica? Yes, man.
Yes.
How's it going? You know, I'm just here, just chilling, I kind of push out the. You know.
And this is why I know. Well, what'd you say?
That's it.
I
know I was gonna say But I'm just saying, you swing with it to get the. I swing with it to just get the one up, you know? Because
I was just thinking on it more now I've had more about it. Honestly, to answer your question, Marvin, no, I don't think that I have one necessarily because I haven't really had to deal with it. I'm gonna, for those in the audience that I didn't explain, I'm a private investigator, so I never really had to do that. When I was working at the Jack, they didn't even ask me that many fucking questions. They asked me to do a piss test. I did it and came in, and they gave me the job.
But nigga, you look ambiguous. You don't have to code switch that much.
I want to hear your example that you had from regarding like just navigating workspaces for you.
Okay, I'm thinking about a job that I had. It was a small company, and it was owned by this Jewish man. Now, this man, he can come in to his business, and he can talk to everybody however the fuck he wants to. He can come in yelling. He can come in, saying that nobody's getting paid today. And he means it. With his chest. Like, nobody getting paid. Fuck this. Y'all fucked up my money. Well, like, shit like that. But we can't do that. We as the people that are working there, we can't do that. We don't have the authority to come at him like that because he's signing our checks. That was the reason, right? Now, there was this one situation where I was speaking to my boss and he came at me. So I brought the same energy back.
Matching
right?
energies.
I matched the energy.
Bitch.
And when I did that, I was called into the office and I was told that what I did, I was out of line. Because I matched his energy in front of other people. Now this is the COO. And I was not supposed to be talking to him, but he came with me with an attitude, so I gave it right back to him. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I really was in the middle of my work. He interrupted my day for me to answer a question that he could have sent me an email for. He could have texted me. He has my phone number. He could have literally texted me. You don't have to come at me like that. But when I did the same thing, I was reprimanded for it. I was written up for it. And I'm a little more louder than you, but I am soft spoken at work. I don't really communicate to people a lot.
You have a handkerchief. Yeah. Who has handkerchiefs now?
This man.
He does. Theo does.
It's just very rare that you see somebody with a handkerchief to do anything.
What else you can wipe your nose with?
Yeah.
Tissue.
And see, this is why Theo doesn't have to go Twitch. You see why now?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you all right. You ain't got a cold too.
Just walk
Like, hi, how you doing, my bucket?
100% of the time, I'd speak like this. I just say what I mean, and I could say it more polite, or I could say it more professional.
I think you can navigate the world a little different.
Yeah.
I feel like you just.
I think that's been the whole thing with my life, but there's just more of my point there.
Yeah, I feel
and it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's just that
it's a different perspective.
It's different. Like
I think it's because how things have gone for me and the way it works. Because I just don't believe in doing a lot of shit. For me personally, I'm not saying this for everybody. I'm not saying everybody be like me, because that wouldn't be the smart idea. But at least for me, I'm just like, I don't have a whole lot of patience for bullshit in life, and I think that's mostly what it comes down to. That Logan like this has facilitated that.
Yeah, I wish. I don't want to say I wish I looked like you, but I wish I didn't have to tolerate a lot of bullshit. Yeah. But because of what I look like and how I was born and who I was born into and the family I was born into, I have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do right now to make people look at me differently. When I walk in the room, they see
you know what? No.
That's something.
This fool got me on something, and I just happened to look at you, and it made me think about it. What was it called? Bad hair.
Christmas.
No.
That's good hair.
No, bad hair.
With Kelly Rowland?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, after watching it, I said, it's got a point, You have to, in this today's society, it's almost like, to some degree, depending upon where you are, who you are, whatever, it is like you have to change. Now, it just depends, because that is the world that we live in. We're trying to change things, but that is just the world that we live in. For some black women, you can't go in there, yes, and I love you.
I can't go into an interview like this.
You can't do that.
You can't go into an interview like that. And no matter how much we want to, it's hard.
It's a mindful.
Like, you have to look.
I took a risk going in with my full fro to my first interview at my current job. And even I remember one of my family members told me, they're like, oh, are you going to wear your hair out this week at your job? Are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, I am going to do it. Because sometimes I don't want to code switch completely. Like, I don't want to straighten my hair, or I don't want to put on a wig for this. And if that's what I have to give up this particular opportunity for that, I have the privilege in this current moment to do that, or I'm willing to give up something to do that. But it's really complicated navigating that and the things you're willing to give and give up to be part of yourself or to express yourself fully. And I think when you think about all the different areas that you're trying to fit in some way, whether it's like language, dialect, skin color, gender, even class, like it's a big thing at my job. It's like almost not trying to come across as if you are from a different class background, which is in a job full of like middle class white women and up, is sometimes difficult because I just do not relate on certain things, and I do not know some of the things they are talking about, or I can pretend to know something about them, but I have not experienced them. And even at the higher levels of my job, where you're seeing people in like really high income brackets, there are people in those brackets that were, most of them are coming from like well-off backgrounds, but there are a few who like weeded their way in who don't, and they constantly feel ostracized because they just cannot relate to the things that these people who are from like the higher rungs of society are talking about. And so there's just so many little things that you're navigating all the time. And for me, you know, some things I'm willing to give up, and some things I'm not. But even when it comes down to simple like hair.
Yeah. Even back home, the boys aren't allowed to. Alright, so like I said, it would be considered coolie. And the boys are not allowed to have a fade. You have to be a buzz cut. If it's not a buzz cut, you're going home. But you have Brandon, who's like, or the Indian guy, doing all these waves and all these hair and all these styles, and he's literally, they stand at the gate, usually with a stick to hit you, and you have your hair faded, and you nap your hair, you know what I'm saying, faded on the side, any style but a buzz cut, you're going home. A guy walks in, curly hair, Indian hair, any style he wants, he goes right through. Yeah. And that goes further than that too. So, because like the bells, now they get away with a lot of stuff. Like if you're dark and you got that nappy hair, you can't do anything but a buzz cut, or you going home.
Now, where is this at?
Jamaica. It happened to this day. It's still in the news.
Schools in Haiti too. Like girls are not allowed to have weaves.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, you're not
They have weaves?
They can't do weaves.
No
you have
makeup,
to do your
no
natural
weaves.
hair. Like your natural hair. They don't deal with that. You buzz cut, uniforms, natural hair. They like, so the only time like it's either when you get older or during the summer when there's no school. You get your hair braided and things like that.
But the white girls can.
The white girls can.
White girls can get away
They
with it.
associate weaves like with like a certain like Black American kind of culture kind of thing.
It just seems like
It's more like an Asian association thing. It's more like an Asian association thing.
Yeah, it's just you can't even. It's not even like you can like what she got on. She can't even do that. It's not like she can have her normal puffy hair and then she just expands it with addition. She can't do that. She have to take it out. So it's, even though if her normal hair looks like that, it's just added more to make it look bigger. She can't do it. She gotta take it out.
How would they know it's not her?
Well, guess what? We always
They'll be like, girl, let me see something.
Yeah.
they touch
Like
it.
this.
Yeah.
Just
Take
like
it off.
Yeah. But the thing is, and they're not afraid too. They're like pulling your, like, something out your belt and like your belt is wrong color. I used to have that issue too. When I would, like, new school season starts and
Your
going in,
uniform
you
too
get
long, your uniform too short.
short, like an inch short, or I'll go in with like a, I have to wear brown shoes and brown belt. I'm like, nah, that brown belt is the wrong shade of brown. Go home. And I had to go home. I didn't have a choice. I can't go in the compound because there's something.
And weren't you paying for school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it'd be so fucked up, man.
It's not.
I used to like.
So
Like,
they can't.
my school was surrounded by a perimeter. It was like in a bad area. Perimeter of wall, and the top of the wall was broken glass.
Wait. Well, who?
A perimeter.
Yeah, just
like,
have
Oh, perimeter. Oh, I thought it was like
Yeah.
housing projects.
So what it is, you'd have basically think of a square and
like
then
a
an
cement
entrance.
wall.
Yeah, a cement wall and then an entrance to the parking lot that surrounds the entire school. And then you have another barbed wire fence around the school compound.
Yeah.
So I go through the middle.
What the hell y'all had going on?
Prison. It's
Wait,
like
no.
prison.
Schools in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
That's
so
not,
yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, so we don't have school buses. Unless you're really a high top school, whatever. You don't have school buses. I have to take taxis. If taxis goes on strike, I gotta walk.
Wait, you had like cars? Because
Yeah.
my cousin had to take
Yeah.
a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't do so. Yeah, but sometimes like whatever. But the taxis go on strike. You got to walk it. And if I'm late to school, I get beaten.
Exactly.
So there would be the principal.
Beat by who?
I'm getting to it. The principal standing at the gate at the barbed wire fence, the entrance to get into the school, with a cane and an iron tip stick.
That sounds like illegal.
Yeah, so like a bamboo stick with an iron tip. And my brother went through it, my sister went through it, I went through it, and we laughed about it all the time. But the thing is, We go through it, and you can't get away from it because he's standing there. No, I had a trick. I went to the like a neighboring community, jumped the fence because there's a part of it that didn't have glass on it because they break the glass and put it on top of the cement to prevent people from jumping it.
Yeah.
I jumped the fence, all to just avoid not getting beaten in the morning.
So you go through the barbed wire to get.
So
I almost think I want to get a beat. I'm not people don't get.
No, you don't want to start your day like that because you're gonna be whooped. So
And, like, in front of everybody?
I jumped the wall. Yeah, that too. I jumped the wall. Then I go through the barbed wire fence because there's an opening at the back just to sneak upstairs to my classroom. And then you have the teacher line us up at the front of the row of the class and be like, 5 4s. You get it wrong, put aside. You get beaten in the morning. That's how we start our day. So you get beaten from the principal. You get beaten from the teacher.
What the fuck is with all these beatings?
And then you have the parents come in like, this is the belt I want you to beat him with if he's misbehaving. And you have the parents who come there and whoop your ass in front of the whole class too. So it's just what it is, you know?
I mean,
Wait, I got another one for you.
I just don't understand. And yeah, I get it's a culture. That's what I mean. But I'm
have to worry about me. You do
spectrum.
not have to worry about me.
I'm not understanding where, overall, that people get it in their heads that, I'm gonna beat my kids until they're 18 years
This
old.
beating
Beating them for 18 years. And this kid's gonna love me. This kid's gonna take care of me when
That
I'm
goes
old.
back to that dog thing that you were talking about.
I was like,
Yes, it is.
okay.
You gotta break him in.
It's a power thing. My mom was a little different. She beat us up until a certain point, and then she was like, "Y'all
I got
too
beatings
grown."
too. I ain't gonna lie, I got beatings.
I think we got like 3
You gotta not react. When she hits you, you have to not react.
You have to not react. You can't cry.
That's how you know. That's
And
how
you
Did
can't
anybody in here ever get whips?
No, when you get
Whips?
what?
Whips.
You talking
Whips.
about- you gotta go outside and pick your own
Yeah,
branch.
okay.
Yeah.
And it can't be.
Anybody ever got whooped with a switch?
That's a switch.
A belt?
That's a Southern class.
A fly swatter?
I never
A
got beat
shoe?
with one, but I picked out my cousin's
A
one.
chancla.
What's a chunkla?
It's
It's a flip-flop.
It's a flip-flop.
Flip flop, wire hangers, plastic. My grandma had an alligator.
Mama got me with the brush one time. She
I got that too.
She got me with the iron one time.
How the hell you get whooped with an iron?
Oh, a machete.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, my brother.
Like the flat side. Yeah.
Oh, my bigger brothers. I wasn't big enough to get that.
The bolo?
How you get whooped with a
That was
machete?
a machete.
Like the side of it.
Yeah,
Not
so
like
my brother, my dad used to
Ever
like
seen
hold my
Kill
brother
Bill
like
when she
this.
spanked him with the sword?
No!
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, your mother.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
I was
don't
old
know.
enough to get blood.
That's why you see people talk about found family a lot because their real family ain't really their safe
I mean,
space.
like,
Yeah.
listen.
We can have
That's some
conversations like
scary
this amongst
shit.
us, but you can't have this type of conversation here with your family.
So let's go back 50 years ago, right? Where everybody was living in the same house. Your mama, your grandmama, your great grandmama, your auntie, her husband, their baby. Everybody was in the same house. Now, your mama used to beat you, but you can't afford to move out.
Yeah.
You still gonna stay with her. And then when she's old and she has Alzheimer's, she can't live on her own. So you still have to take care of her.
Yeah.
It wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't a choice.
It's a rock on the place.
It wasn't a choice to be able to leave and get found family and do all that shit because the only people that you knew were your family.
Nursing homes weren't really a thing either.
Exactly.
Wait, somebody said they got whooped with a fan belt off a van. Damn!
Damn.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
That's interesting.
And Dominique, you make a good point. That's why a lot of people, they use and abuse their children and then they expect them to take care of them because at one point children didn't have a choice.
They did not have
But
a
now there is.
There is a choice now. And my mom, she figured it out.
Home.
Even
Elderly
in my
home.
parents' generation, there's a choice.
My-
There's been a choice for them. for a
Nah,
while.
listen, I feel like we was really in tune with our ancestors. My mom, she decided to from beating us to when we got to middle school, she was like, oh, we're gonna ground you. Now, every time, I hate to say, every time my mom ended up grounding me and one of my brothers, there was a hurricane. Like a dead ass, a hurricane.
Your brother was praying. He was like, Father, listen.
Like, no.
He was
like,
doing something.
both-
He was saying
and
curses.
so she stopped doing that because I think she got scared. So instead of doing that, she used to put us in the corner and she used to make us stand on one leg in the corner and put our arms out. And now she used to leave us there for 30, 40 minutes.
Wait. You didn't get punished like that in high school too?
Oh, yes, of course.
On the corks in the center of the courtyard.
And now when my mom was feeling a little
That's
fancy,
off life.
Oh, a meal on rice. Did you have to do that?
meal on rice?
Yeah, I had to do it too.
On the corks, at the top of the corks. Of the
Meal on rice.
Oh, you have a
That's
list.
cool.
Okay, and then when my mom was feeling kind of fancy, she would put little buckets of water in my hands, and I had to
Hold them all.
like Jesus.
Yeah.
Like hold my hands out like Jesus, and I had to be on one leg. Now it's not like
flamingo.
Flamingo. And my mom would leave us there for 30, 40 minutes. She don't care if people was in the house. She's like, oh, don't talk to them. She's not here. and she would
What the hell?
like deal with her business, do all that stuff, and I'm sitting there in the corner just like Jesus. So like, and you can't complain. You can't leave. If the water falls, you're gonna get beat, and then you have to mop it. You know. So
you don't have to beat my ass.
A lot of beating.
Beat me.
Like my mom, she didn't. She went from beating me to like other kinds of discipline.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say such discipline. And she's like, okay, well, I can't beat you because CPS, so I can do this, and I'm not hurting you.
I'm making you stronger.
I'm making you stronger. Yeah. This is like, so she still fully expects me, like when she gets old and to take care of her, and I'm going to therapy.
So we also have to have like our own understanding how we navigate those kind of experiences. Like I feel like I have a lot of empathy for my family. So like I have a better relationship with my mom and my dad and everyone in my family, despite like getting hit like that as a child. Because of the work I've done to navigate and understand them, even if I can articulate to them how I like it appropriate, I feel that it is on multiple levels. And so we like have this ability to navigate nuance while understanding our culture, because there's so many areas where that's like messy and tricky when it comes to like homophobia, the colorism. Like there are a lot of areas where people in our lives that we care about are not ideal, and we pick and choose like how much of them we want in our lives. And like I think it's sometimes okay to have them in our lives, but like even for me it's at a distance because that's what works for me. But I think there's a whole different cultural expectation where I just do not feel like I can drop my family off and abandon them. And so it gets tricky.
So let me do this.
It gets tricky, yeah. Have I complete abandonment and live your life, or?
I don't know. My mom was the one, like I told you about, who the one in the family who's like, okay, I don't like this part of how I was raised. I'm not gonna do that to my kids.
My mother did the same thing.
But some of my other family members, they're still on that whole beating kids and things like that. I'm like, okay, I don't.
So you're taking back to Jamaica to be
I still don't like them, and me personally, I'm not gonna have my future children meet half of them. To be real with you,
yeah.
I believe in cutting people off. I have empathy for them. I feel sympathy, but that's all they get. You know, just because I feel empathetic doesn't mean you're owed a relationship with me or my children.
And you know, I think I never realized that we kind of had a similar thing. I think that's probably why we get along. But yeah, my mother did the same thing.
Exactly.
Like everything that went wrong in her childhood, she did not do to us, and she took us away from those spaces too. So all the family that was doing it, I was not raised by any of them.
They're never going to be perfect, but I think that's your responsibility as a parent, is to do better. So you should want better for your kids, not just the same.
But
all of them don't see it.
I'm gonna speak for my mother and my father. In their mind, they believe that they're doing better.
Yeah.
That is their better. Yeah. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, my grandma was worse than what I just told my mom did to me. She was worse. Yeah. So it's a little better, and then hopefully, like if I do decide to have kids, I will choose not to do that. Not be violent with kids. But that's it's better, and even though it's not what we deem as appropriate, it was dialed way back.
So we're gonna cut it here because this has been good. We're gonna do this again. So listen, if you have enjoyed tonight's podcast, please make sure you put some likes and things in the comments and everything. Everybody here, you know their name. Y'all know where we at. We're gonna be back here again. We're gonna announce when we're gonna do this again. Please don't cut off musicians, whatever y'all at. But listen, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button and everything of that nature. And we're gonna catch y'all again, okay? All right.